Then Mr. Baggins turned the handle and went in. The Took side had won. He suddenly felt he would go without bed and breakfast to be thought fierce. Hello!
Welcome. This is the We Read Books podcast.
Yeah.
We read books and then we talk about them to entertain ourselves and hopefully some of you out there as well.
Otherwise, I don't know what you're doing here, but welcome.
Welcome. Cool. Well, that's Whitney.
And that's Maddie.
Hello. Ooh, I hit something.
It's already just going off the rails.
Dang. I mean, it's fitting though. This is The Hobbit.
Yes. Just one
Mishap after another.
Yes.
The misadventures.
The misadventures of Whit&Mad.
Oh, we can have our own cartoon.
Ooh, I would like that.
That would be really cute. I think what's really funny is lately I've been seeing on social media, like, people talking about, I sent you the thing the other day where Warner Brothers and HBO are, like, in talks to redo the first 7 Harry Potter books as a TV series.
Yes.
And my first thought was they should do that as a cartoon.
Yeah.
It would be so much better if they did it as an animated version, especially because I think that would satisfy the people who are really upset about it.
Yes. Well, and too, like we had discussed, then you're not as worried about casting look-wise. You can choose someone who can do the voice acting. So violent. Voice acting really appropriately, you know, no matter what they look like. If they do the voice perfectly, then sweet. You know, it doesn't matter if they're 85 and doing the voice of a 35-year-old if they can do it right, you know?
Exactly.
And you don't have to worry about actors aging.
Yeah, because I think that would be a really a real concern with something that long.
Yeah. Now, I mean, even still, like, Steven Universe and Adventure Time, it's like they had kids that did voices and they grew, but, you know, their voice changed, but that's what would naturally happen. Exactly. So it made sense and it was okay. I feel like it would be even easier in the animated version.
Yeah, I agree.
For that as well. I
agree. Because, like, you think of how they would age out of their character from, like, season 1 to season 2. Because if you take something of that scale, especially knowing HBO's history with, because, like, take Game of Thrones, for example, there are multiple years in between seasons.
Oh,
it's
really?
Not like, they did not release Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon season 2 is not coming out, I think, until, like, 2024 fall.
Wow. Now, I will say the movies, knowing that they had children actors that were going to rapidly age, they scheduled it to where they were releasing one pretty much every year, I believe, at one point. So
I think at least for the first 3.
Yeah, at least the first 2 for sure. I know that they planned that. And it seems like, I don't know if there was a little jump between 2 and 3, but it still seems appropriate. They timed it very well, as best you can with children actors.
Yeah, because...
But a TV show like that, if HBO is not doing that, then that will be a miss for them as well.
It would be really hard, and I don't think it's something where... Because I feel like the way you look between age 11 and age 16 or 17 is not different enough to where you could recast.
No.
It would be really difficult.
Yeah.
Although they successfully did it in House of the Dragon, because the actress who is Rhaenyra Targaryen at the beginning is different. She did the first 5 episodes, and then Emma Darcy came in and played Rhaenyra because there's like a 10-year jump.
Oh, okay.
So it's significant.
A 10-year jump. Yeah, I can see that.
And so,
but a 4-year jump?
Yeah, not that different. But Emma Darcy and I think her name is Millie Alcott. who played young Rhaenyra, they actually look like the young, like Millie looks like the young version of Emma Darcy. It's wild.
I was gonna say, if they do that, you have to have expert casting. You can't. You can't just choose two actors that you think both fit the description. They have to look like each other. They have to have similar mannerisms. You can't just plop a new person in there and go, yeah, that's them.
Agreed. Yeah. But, you know, so House of the Dragon is HBO. So maybe they could pull it off. But I think a 10-year age gap makes sense to recast. 4 years, 5 years does not make sense to recast, in my opinion.
If anything, they're going to have to cast the children younger, maybe, to help them kind of catch up or something. They're just going to have very good planning and a very good schedule in place.
Yeah. So, HBO, we're available. Just throwing it out there. So many good ideas.
I don't even know how old he is, but for some reason, and I think it's just because we've discussed it so much that people would be most upset over the casting of Snape.
Agreed.
I've thought of actors that I thought would maybe do a good job, like Adam Driver is one that comes to mind.
He's one that I've seen other people say as well.
And then and it could just be because I'm obsessed with him now that I've seen the movie, but the guy that played Mr. Darcy in the Keira Knightley Pride and Prejudice.
Ooh.
I think he would be especially perfect, but I don't even know how old he is, what he looks like now or anything. But I just think he could do a really good job.
Yeah. I think his name is Matthew McFadden.
But,
I think.
Yeah. But then again, I like him so much that, again, then we would have one of those. He would be a very likable Snape rather than a book-accurate Snape. But I'm sure his acting chops, he could get the job done right. But
And what's weird is, like, Alan Rickman has always played the villain. Like, he was the villain in Die Hard. He was the villain in Robin Hood.
Oh, and he was Kevin Costner. So despicable.
God, he played Prince John. Yeah, it was Prince John.
He was the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Was he? Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought he played Prince John.
I'm trying to think who plays Prince John in the Kevin Costner version.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let me look this up because now we need to know.
But he was so disgusting in that film.
Oh, 100%.
But he did play Absalom in the live-action version of Alice in Wonderland. So, there's that.
He played, it says, Le Sheriff de Nottingham. I don't know why they put it that way, but...
Yeah, this is
so
not
then
a French
who
film.
plays... Because I can only see the man who, in my mind, who played Prince John in Robin Hood Men in Tights. Nick Brimble. That tells me. Sorry, Nick Brimble.
I don't know you, Nick Brimble.
No. Okay, Nick Brimble is the one who played Little John. I want to know Prince John.
Maybe is there a Prince John in that one? Maybe there isn't.
And maybe he's King? Is he King John?
Nope.
Lord John?
I don't know. I'm purely thinking of the...
It says Lord John, who is often in Robin Hood tales as the villainous Prince John, is not even mentioned in this story, despite the hurdle he would prove to the sheriff's plan as the king's younger brother and rightful heir. So, really, Alan Rickman was the sheriff of Nottingham, but he sort of fulfilled that
Prince John role.
Yes. So...
Okay. That's
Yeah.
This explains the discrepancies.
Yes.
Either way, that's an excellent movie.
Yeah.
And Morgan Freeman is in that movie.
Yes, he is.
He's so good.
He does a really good job.
I love Morgan Freeman.
I do too.
I would let him, like, talk me to sleep.
I was going to say, arguably one of the most soothing voices in the world.
For sure. For sure. It's why he narrates that Cosmos show that's about space. Mm-hmm. He narrates that because obviously he's the first choice.
I feel like he's narrated shows about wildlife as well.
Yeah, like him and David Attenborough.
I know the name. I cannot see his face.
He narrates the Planet Earth series.
Oh, yeah.
Dakota and I will literally sit and watch hours of Planet Earth. And it's largely because David Attenborough just, like, narrates it so well.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't watch a lot of those, like, world wildlife shows simply because seeing some of the wildlife makes me sad for the animals. It bums me out.
I know.
I'm too soft-hearted, I guess.
I know. It sucks because there'll be, like, ones where you have, like, a lion who's trying to, like, get food for her cubs, and then it shows you the goats that she's trying to kill, but the goats are just doing their little goat thing, hopping around, and you want her to get food, but you don't want the goats to die. Yeah, it's a real emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Well, so just exposed myself. But anyway, I guess our social channels, totally skipped it.
I feel like this is a very smooth segue. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, not jarring at all. You can find us on Instagram at We Read Books Pod, TikTok at We Read Books Pod, and our Gmail is wereadbookspod23@gmail.com.
Send us your recommendations, your thoughts, questions.
Hold your critiques to yourself.
Rude-free zone, as we said last time.
Yeah.
Or perhaps the time before. We've said before this is a rude-free zone. So
yeah, exactly.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I see it all the time. Like, people on, I mean, it's usually TikTok, let's be honest. They just get on there and they're just rude. I'm like, why did you need to say that, though?
Yeah. If you can politely disagree with it. I think the world is sorely missing polite disagreement or agreeing to disagree. That's just not a thing anymore.
Especially when it comes to things like, most of my TikTok is book stuff.
Yeah.
People get so fired up and so passionate about it. Like, if I see a TikTok of someone talking about a book that I hate, I just keep scrolling. Mm-hmm. No part of my brain is like, you know what? I'm going to let this person know how I feel.
Yeah.
Because guess what? They don't care.
And not only am I going to criticize the book you're talking about, but I'm also going to criticize you as a human being.
Like, come on.
Without knowing them.
They probably hate books that I love. That's just the way of the road, my man.
That's why there's such variety in the world. Different people like different things for different reasons.
Exactly. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean I feel like other people shouldn't like it either.
Right.
Like, you do you, and I just want people to read books.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what it is. If it's fan fiction, if it's smut, if it's whatever it is, I just want people in the world to read more books. I don't care if they're what I would pick.
Right, because you're worried about what you're picking. You're enjoying it. You're not forcing that on other people.
Exactly. Well, except for the people listening to this podcast. I am forcing it on you.
Right. But you are listening to this of your own free will. So it's not really forced. It's just available to you, and you are choosing it. So we have not kidnapped your ears. We want that very clear.
Please don't turn us in.
Yeah, please. Hopefully this week you'll enjoy our choice because we are covering our first book by one of the fathers of fantasy, JRR Tolkien himself.
Yeah.
So we are embarking on our Middle-earthian adventure beginning with The Hobbit.
Yeah, because where should you start? At the beginning.
Yes, you should. Did the movies? No, and that's okay because the Lord of the Rings films are wonderful.
They're perfection in every way possible.
Yeah.
I'll never get tired of watching them.
No. I feel like I read an article about a person that said they had watched the trilogy 300 and some odd times, or maybe it was like the number of days, like 365 times. And people just thought that was unreasonable. But if you wake up, put it on in the background, and you like work from home.
Hey.
I mean, it's possible.
It's possible.
And I just don't see a downside to it, really.
I agree. It has everything you could ever want in a trilogy. The stakes are high. The world is in the balance. You've got a young hero who you would never have thought of as the hero, the unexpected hero. Mm-hmm. You've got Aragorn, enough said. There's peril, there's danger, almost failure, and then success.
Triumph.
Yeah, ultimate good over ultimate evil.
Yeah.
And Saruman, come on.
Yeah.
That dude looked so cool. He might have been a villain, but he looked so cool.
He did look so good. There is a t-shirt I've been waffling back and forth. $35 is not unreasonable, but I've never bought shirts from these people before, so I don't know if it's gonna hang like a bag or, fit like a glove.
Yeah.
So I've been hesitating. I'll have to show it to you after we're done recording. It's like so metal looking that I think we just need matching shirts because it's pretty spectacular.
What's a fun fact about the actor who played Saruman is that he is the only one of the cast to have actually met JRR Tolkien.
Oh, wow.
Because he, I guess, grew up literally when The Hobbit was released, and he read all of the books as they came out.
Wow.
And met Tolkien.
Wow.
I literally just read that last night. Actually, I saw it on TikTok.
That's amazing. Now, I think when I was talking about the metal shirt, I'm thinking of Sauron, not Saruman.
Gotcha.
And again, JRR, I love you to bits, but that one really perplexed me. Why did we do that?
I know. It sucks.
But Saruman is also a cool looking character, but Sauron is like it's like the cover of a death metal band.
Oh, it so is. It so is. I actually have seen tattoos that have like that helmet, the Sauron helmet with the sword through it, and it says like "I am no man," and I'm like,
oh, like the Witch King or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I would wear that.
That's pretty sick.
It's so sick, and that's such an epic. See, and this is what makes me sad whenever I think about like how Emily just will not watch Return of the King. I think that moment is what stands out in my brain. Like, I get goosebumps thinking about that scene.
Yes.
It's just so sick, dude.
Yeah. Is the Witch King wearing Sauron's helmet? I always thought that was his own helmet, but now I'm thinking that might be Sauron's helmet because Sauron's an eyeball. He can't wear it.
Yeah, I think that, because that's the helmet whenever it does the flashback of Isildur and he cuts the hand.
Yeah.
That's the helmet
that's
that he's
Sauron's
wearing.
helmet. And so I guess the Witch King is wearing Sauron's helmet. I never put those two together.
Unless they made the helmet just look really similar, but I think it's his helmet.
Either way, I'm certainly not correcting you. It's just my brain was just like, whoa, I never even thought of it like that.
Yeah.
But yes, that's one of the many epic moments of the third one. Like
everything about Return of the King is so epic.
Yeah.
And P.S., the date of recording is April 8th. We're going to see Return of the King in theaters in T-minus like 4 days.
Yes. I'm nodding enthusiastically. You cannot see it, but hopefully you can feel my enthusiasm.
Yeah. So apparently it's like the 20th. Well, in December will be the 20th anniversary.
Yeah. It's the 20th year anniversary, I guess. And so they decided to release it now in theaters, in select theaters.
Select theaters. Yeah. So. And it's only that was the only day I could get tickets. I think overall it's going to be in theaters from like the 13th to the 19th.
Okay.
But here I could only get tickets for the 13th.
Yeah. And
so
the article you had sent me said that they might be doing more showings later, but it didn't seem guaranteed. So I'm glad that we just got in on that. More like this is going to be amazing. The only thing that for me that could top it is if we got to see it with the orchestra playing.
Ooh, like
they've done that they've done that. I think for some Star Wars movies and maybe a Harry Potter movie or two. I would love to. They even did it for the J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies, at least one of them. And again, I just think that would be such a thrill.
Yeah, I think they've done the first 2 Harry Potters.
Yes, yeah.
I wish they would finish all the Harry Potters and do all of the Lord of the Rings. Because the score for Lord of the Rings is so, like, lovely and haunting.
Yeah.
It's just so good. And Harry Potter has a really excellent score, too.
Agreed. Sometimes I'll just listen to it while I'm working or whatever.
It's so nice.
Thank God Spotify has it.
You can, like, even picture what part of the movie that particular part of the song is from.
Absolutely. And the Harry Potters, especially, you know which movie you're in.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe the last couple, not necessarily, like, the specific moments.
Yeah.
But the earlier ones, for sure.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Yeah. They really went there with the score.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has their own opinion on the Harry Potter movies and blah, blah, blah. I enjoy them a lot. I understand they have shortcomings, but one thing that they did not come up short is the score.
100%.
For sure. We're not nerds.
No.
Dakota calls me a nerd, like, every day.
I think Caleb also calls me a nerd, so I wear it with pride.
It's a term of endearment at this point.
Exactly. No malice intended.
Listen, we earned that shit through blood, sweat, and tears. Whenever we were young, it was not cool to be obsessed with something like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings.
No. And even in normal social settings, I am still the odd one out with all the random knowledge and excitement I, muster up for things. People look at me like, calm down.
Yeah. I have a select few. Like, Lauren she watches Lord of the Rings, like, a lot. It's her favorite.
Good to
Lord
know.
of the Rings is her favorite.
Good to know.
And she loves Harry Potter. She and I have actually done a Harry Potter marathon where we watched movies 4 through 8 in one sitting.
Nice.
When we lived together. So, like, she's nerdy.
See, I feel a true nerd would hear that and go, yes.
Yeah.
Not, how do you do that one day? That's not, who would want to do that? I would.
Yeah. And Jeree is nerdy. Like, we watched all 3 original Star Wars in one day.
Nice.
Yeah. So, Lauren, and Jeree are, like, my nerd friends.
Nice.
And, well, and Brianna, my sister-in-law, she's really nerdy as well.
You and Ashley, and that might be it. My friend Kirsten does like some nerdy things, but she's very subdued about it. She's
like a casual consumer.
Yeah, she's not, jumping up and down and acting wild over it like you and I would, or my friend Ashley is a very enthusiastic, nerdy person as well.
Yeah. It's just, and Dakota says it all the time. He's like, because he's not really into nerd stuff at all, really. And he's like, I wish that I had some, like, a fandom or something that I loved that much.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't.
Yeah. Caleb's pretty awesomely nerdy about a lot of things. The only thing that we differ on is he's not super into sci-fi, like Star Trek is, not his jam. But there are other sci-fi things that he's gotten into that, or he's, like, learned to love over time being married to me. But
yeah. I have actually never seen any Star Trek. I'm not opposed to it. I just have never. I've always been a Star Wars girl.
And I think there's room to like both.
Right.
Most people will probably tell there's this movie, I think it's called Fanboys, and it's about these Star Wars nerds trying to get an early viewing of, I think it's The Phantom Menace, but there's also a big...
The worst one.
But there's... Arguably, yes. There's this bit in there where it's Star Wars fans versus Star Trek fans, and there's this rivalry. I started as a hardcore Star Trek fan, but I also really like Star Wars, so I just like them for different reasons.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the only thing that they really have in common, now having never experienced any Star Trek is that they're both space.
Yes.
I feel like that's like the only thing that they share.
Yeah.
Really.
Now, Star Trek is a bit more logical and political, I guess, but I feel like the Star Wars movies have got some politicalness in them. Not necessarily the early trilogy or the most recent, but the episodes 1 through 3.
Yeah.
But Star Trek still has excitement, adventure, fighting, things like that. But it's just different. But I grew up with Star Trek Next Generation. Patrick Stewart is one of the greatest actors that I love. So, and he puts it all, like all those actors in that show put it all out on the table. They just did the most. Even if it got weird at the end, or like, I think there were writer changes or something, you know, there's just some episodes that you're like, wow, I wonder how they felt about this one. Like, there's one where the ship doctor, Dr. Crusher, falls in love. I'm sorry. She falls in love with a ghost is he in a candle? She falls in love with a ghost, and it gets a little...
It goes a little weird?
It goes a little weird. It's slightly a little saucy. I don't really know, but I feel like the actress Gates McFadden probably after that was like, really, guys?
Yeah.
We really did this today?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's all great. But yeah, I prefer most Star Trek Next Generation, but it's all pretty great.
Yeah. I watched the 4, 5, and 6 episodes 4, 5, and 6 Star Wars like my entire childhood.
Yeah.
So
I guess my mom was more of a Star Trek person because I can't remember owning Star Wars or being engulfed in it as a child. But yeah, as I got older and I watched episodes 4, 5, and 6, I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot.
They're so good. And like, I actually have a collector's edition up there on my bookshelf that Dillard got me.
Yeah. Oh, is that the one from the garage sale?
Yes.
Yeah.
But originally, my stepmom, Angel, that's the gold edition, which is the widescreen. Angel had the silver edition, which was like regular screen. So just because a lot of time growing up, we just watched movies. We didn't have like cable or anything. So we just watched Star Wars. You know, sometimes you just watch the movies that are at your house.
Yeah. You watch what you know, and you can easily enjoy it. You don't get stressed out.
Exactly.
You know how it ends.
Exactly.
Though even when I know how something ends, sometimes I still get stressed out. And
I agree.
In the high tension sections, I'm like, why am I upset right now? I know that it's going to be okay.
I know. I think it changes from like, because when you experience it the first time, it's the unknown.
Yes.
So you're like really tense because you have no idea what's happening. But then after you already know, you get into like the anticipation tension. So you're anticipating because you know it's coming.
Yeah.
So it's like just different types of
That's
tension.
that's a good way to put it.
I kind of think the unknown is a little bit easier to deal with for me. Anticipation is the worst for me. It's like getting a tattoo. You have that anticipation because you know what's coming.
Yeah.
And then you like hear them like on the foot pedal, and you're like you hear the little zzz.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Just get it over with.
It's about to suck for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to remind myself, I'm like, this is only temporary. This is only temporary. The pain. I mean, the end result is permanent. So the pain is temporary. The cool end result is permanent. I just kind of like have to repeat that in my head as they go, especially when they hit a spot that is especially painful.
Yeah. When I was getting my palm done, all I was thinking, and the first time, because I have had it touched up once, but the first time I felt like, okay, this doesn't hurt as much as I thought it was going to. And that made it feel like it didn't hurt.
Yes.
But then when I went back to get it touched up, I had it in my mind.
Oh, it's not so bad.
It's not so bad. It's not going to hurt that bad. And then it hurt, and I was like, it's going to look so cool. It's going to look so cool. It's going to look so cool. Like, in my brain over and over. I
always wonder, like, because sometimes touch-ups do hurt worse, and I don't know if it's because it's almost like going over scar tissue.
Yeah, it could be.
So the nerves are just damaged.
On fire.
Yeah. Like, we did this once. Why are you doing this to me again?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've considered getting it touched up again, but I kind of just... It's a palm tattoo. You just have to accept that this is what it's going to look like.
Yeah. It looks good, though.
It does look good.
After the second, the lines are still very solid.
Yeah, the lines are in there. There's only a couple of places, and I've had it for 3 years now.
Yeah, and that skin is so much, like, tougher, and I think, like, it kind of wears away and peels more.
Yeah, like, the cell turnover is a lot higher than all of your other skin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But luckily, it's my left, so it's almost useless.
You're not really wearing it off, like, with your dominant hand. So.
Yes. And it gets very little crease where it is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So that's like if you're going to get your palm done, this is the place to put it.
And the place she is talking about is where your thumb meets your palm.
Yes.
And then up into your thumb maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Unless you're punching people and making fists constantly, you're not going to crumple that super often.
Yeah. It doesn't get a lot of action in my life, for sure.
That's good.
Maybe we'll do, like, tattoo tours for our, like, Instagram and our TikTok one day.
That would be cool.
I don't have as many, like, fandom tattoos. I only have the one.
Well, I have a couple, I guess.
I guess this one would count as a fandom tattoo.
But... Yeah, it could stand for a couple fandoms, actually, so it's multi-purpose.
It's multi-purpose tattoo. But most of mine are not fandoms. I have the Harry Potter tattoo, and then this one was kind of like a mashup. Yeah. So.
I've got a couple, Batman, Lord of the Rings, Gravity Falls, The Mummy, but I purposely, Harry Potter, I started this arm, or not started, but started the lower half of this arm with the intention of doing those random things that represent the stuff that brings me joy.
Yeah, I've actually thought about getting lightning bolt on the inner of one of my fingers, like the lower knuckle inside.
I thought about doing the little 3 Harry Potter stars, like right where, like, kind of your side, if I had sideburns.
Yeah.
Where that would be, or somewhere around my ear or something, But we'll see.
That would be really cute.
Now all I can think about is tattoos.
I know. We should, let's talk about The Hobbit now. We talked about literally everything else. It's so easy, though. You just start, like, talking about all the fandoms.
Yeah.
Eventually, we've actually talked about doing, like, Fandom Friday, since we're definitely not going to be able to put out a book episode every single week. It's just not viable.
No.
Especially because a lot of the books we've chosen are long.
Yes.
So, in the event that there's, like, a lag, we could do, like, a fandom episode.
Yeah.
Fandom Friday.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So you could have like a 1 hour
little random blurb.
Yeah.
What's the word? Ramble sesh.
Yeah. Like the intro to this episode.
To every episode.
Yeah. Maybe if we got all of it out on a Fandom Friday, we would get to our topic sooner. Probably not.
Probably not.
Okay, so The Hobbit. Is this our oldest book? No, we did Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
It is the oldest one since then, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's our second oldest.
Yeah, it's our middle child. She was published September 21st, 1937 by one JRR Tolkien. The first print was about 1,500 copies, which I was actually surprised that it was that many.
Is that a lot for then?
I mean, the first print of Harry Potter was 500.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. And that was many years later.
Yeah. That was like 96. So, wow. I don't know if maybe Tolkien was just really well connected or had a relationship with the publisher. Because he was a professor of English. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, back then, it might have been a smaller community. I don't know. But
was this his first book?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. He had been writing, like, I think he, even whenever he published The Hobbit, he had already written a lot of what makes up the Silmarillion, or at least a good portion of it.
Oh, okay.
So he had been writing Middle-earth stuff for a long time.
Just hadn't got it into a narrative story.
Yeah, because the Silmarillion is a collection of, it's more of like an appendices.
Yeah, and maybe they just, like you said, he was well connected into that community, so perhaps they just had very high confidence in the story that he created. They all really liked him. We're like, we're going to need a lot of these.
And it was probably also one of those instances where there's not a lot of this kind of story being published, and he really didn't have any competition, so they probably read it and were like, there's literally nothing that exists like this.
They instantly thought, we have a hit on our hands.
Exactly, and they were right.
Yes.
So the first print, 1,500 copies, it released at the end of September, was sold out by December because the reviews were so good. People, they were like, hey,
this guy knows what's up.
He's changing the game out here. So the first print was illustrated in black and white, and those illustrations were all drawn by Tolkien.
Very cool.
Very cool. He designed the dust jacket as well. So you can buy, I actually ordered for my youngest nephew, who is going to be 1 in September. For his birth, for my sister for her baby shower, I ordered him a copy of The Hobbit from Shakespeare & Co. in Paris. And it's The Hobbit with the original dust jacket.
Oh, wow.
It's not like a first edition copy or anything, but it is a reprint of that first dust jacket.
What a keepsake.
I scoured the internet for that thing. I think it was only like $35 or something. It wasn't like expensive.
That's good.
It just, most copies are just not the original dust jacket.
Yeah. I hope he treasures it.
I hope so. I got it stamped and everything because you can get like the Shakespeare & Co. like logo stamp in it.
Nice. If he becomes ungrateful, you just snatch it right back.
I wanted to keep it. When it came in, I was like,
I'm going to go to Walmart and buy him a basic copy and keeping this one for myself.
Yeah. I really wanted to keep it, but I bought it for him. Jacoby, you are welcome. If you weren't so cute. So, The Hobbit is one of the best-selling books of all time.
As it should be.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. By 2012, it had sold over 100 million copies, and this is just The Hobbit. This does not include Lord of the Rings.
Wowzers.
And it's been translated into more than 60 languages.
That's great.
Yeah. I think Harry Potter was like 80, but
yeah,
that's Harry Potter.
I was going to make this kind of correlation. We were talking about the Star Wars movies before. The Star Wars movies, the episodes 4, 5, and 6 have gone through some revisions at the creator's decision. And the same happened for The Hobbit.
It did.
There was a handful of revisions since the original publication. After the success of the first print, Tolkien's publisher asked for a sequel. So Tolkien gave him the Silmarillion drafts, but those were rejected. As Maddie had pointed out, they're more of informational, not really narrative.
Right.
So the publisher stated that the readers wanted some more stories about the hobbits, so Tolkien began what would become The Lord of the Rings. But because of this, Tolkien went back to revise certain details from The Hobbit to better suit a sequel, including changes to Gollum and the Ring. And actually, my copy of The Hobbit gave a little blurb about that, which I thought was really interesting and really cool. So I liked that they included that. But just talking about how he chose to make some changes to have it better suit the furthering story, which sometimes it can feel like, why would you change that? But I think it obviously served the story better in the end. So it was well worth it and something that he made the right choice to do.
Yeah, and Tolkien himself did it. I think that's the important part.
If someone else did it, that's when it's like,
yeah, that's when it feels icky.
Yeah, but I will say the changes that George Lucas made, I don't know that I agree with. I like the puppets and the practical and the, then you have the debate of who shot first and all that stuff. It just... I think that it was more successful for The Hobbit than it was for the Star Wars original trilogy.
And books lend themselves to revision much more than films.
Agreed. But I don't feel like the changes were like super drastic. Like,
right. They're very minimal.
Yeah. Like originally Gollum bet his ring willingly and he and Bilbo parted ways amicably. But however, in subsequent editions, Tolkien made the ring more powerful and gave it its corrupting abilities. He also made Gollum more aggressive and distraught at losing it. Mm-hmm. I think it just made that situation that much more interesting.
Yeah.
And really fueled the trilogy beyond. Yeah. So he took something that was simple and possibly even kind of sweet and turned it into such a huge big deal. So
yeah, because I obviously the only version I've ever read is the version where the ring is the One Ring,
right,
and Gollum is what we think of him as,
right. But even reading The Hobbit, you still, even with those changes, until you read Lord of the Rings, you don't know the significance. It just hey, you know what? It made Gollum more important to the story as well, rather than just like a passerby that was like, oh, I'll play riddles. Here's my ring. See ya, fella. Like, it made Gollum that much more important to the story. So Gollum should be thankful, even though he got turned in kind of a jerk. But
yeah, I do. I really loved Gollum just in the whole series in The Hobbit and in Lord of the Rings. I always really enjoyed his character. Mm-hmm. He is very, very identifiable. Like, his speech patterns, I think, are really creative. And I just really enjoy it. I just love the way he talks, honestly.
He's just a creepy little creature.
Creepy. He is.
But when he's sad, it's like you do feel pity for him, even though he is kind of awful and conniving and selfish.
Yeah, because even, when you get that flashback in the Lord of the Rings books, it happens in Fellowship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Gandalf is telling, I believe Gandalf is telling Frodo the story at the beginning about Smeagol and all of that. But in the movies, you get the flashback at the beginning of Return of the King.
I hate it.
Oh.
It creeps me out, like his descent into what he becomes, like, physically. Yes. Oh, I hate it.
It really, whenever it shows, like, the close-up of him eating that fish, it's horrifying.
Yes.
It's the most disturbing thing I've probably seen on film. One of the most. But even when he was still a hobbit, or whatever he was that was related to a hobbit.
Yeah, they call him like a river folk or something like that.
It's unclear, but it's he was similar to a hobbit. Mm-hmm. So even then he was greedy. Yeah. So he already had that
in him. And maybe I should save this for once we get to the third Lord of the, well, I guess it would be in the first Lord of the Rings book, but I've always been curious because I have not yet read the Lord of the Rings books. I've only just completely devoured the movies over and over and over again. But in the movie, did they make him speak in third person like that from the beginning just to help dumb audiences know that, hey, that's who becomes Gollum? Or did Smeagol speak like that?
Well, I don't
like when he's wrestling the ring from his friend. He's like, "We wants it. It's our birthday."
Well, since it's like a story that I think it's Gandalf. It could have been Bilbo who's telling the story, but whenever they're telling the story, so I don't know necessarily
that you even get that.
You don't get any Smeagol on the page.
Yeah. Because before we got to that, movie and saw that scene, I just figured the dual personality, all of that came with the corruption of the ring. So when they did the flashback and he was already talking like that, I found it a bit strange, but not to say that he couldn't have been like that before. I just thought it was part of the corruption rather than like, he was he was off his rock before that happened.
I don't know. It's not clear in the books because you don't ever get that scene doesn't exist in the books. So
well, then I can keep my head canon that maybe he wasn't that weird before.
He might have had some similar speech patterns, like "we wants it," right? Or like how he puts S's on the end of a lot of his words. Yeah. That could have existed, but I do think the dual personality is an effect of the ring. Yeah. Okay. So I think because it's explained that whenever he does his, like, little, like, cough, it sounds like he's saying Gollum.
Yes.
So that's why they call him that, as opposed to him calling himself Gollum. So that's the explanation.
Yeah, because he calls himself... Does he call himself Precious as well as the ring?
Well, when he's talking, it's like as if he's talking to the ring.
Okay.
So he says, like, we. And he says Precious all the time, even when he doesn't have the ring. He's not talking about the ring.
Yeah.
He's addressing it.
Okay. Because, sometimes I was like, is he calling himself Precious also? And I feel like the Hobbit book does say something about how he's... like the narrator says something about how he's referring to himself, but I don't remember.
Yeah. There is that. And he also doesn't refer to Bilbo as, like, he doesn't address him in second person, like, you, blah, blah.
Yeah.
He says it.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so creepy.
It is creepy. He's dehumanizing Bilbo so he doesn't feel so bad when he eats him.
God. Wow. We could do a whole episode just about Gollum. Really.
The Gollum origin story.
Right. But I guess we should talk about the other characters too.
Yeah, we should talk about the other characters.
We're 48 minutes in and we haven't even begun.
Oh, yeah.
Hope you have a snack, guys.
Buckle up. Okay. So the characters, we're just going to go through and tell you who the characters are, and then we'll get into our plot points. That way, if you've never read The Hobbit, you will know who we're talking about.
Yeah, or at least have a vague recollection of who we're discussing.
Yeah. So first we have our titular character, Bilbo Baggins. He's a hobbit. He lives at Bag End in Hobbiton in the Shire.
The most magical place on earth, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. One day we're going to venture over to New Zealand and visit Bag End. It is still there and maintained by New Zealand.
I'm just moving in. I'm not visiting.
Yeah.
Here I come.
Yeah. Because they built out a full little, like, city for filming purposes. Because they did so much of the Lord of the Rings.
I'm glad that it's still there, really. I think that's fantastic.
And, of course, it pays off for itself. People love Lord of the Rings. Of course they go there just for that.
Yeah.
I mean, New Zealand is gorgeous, and I'm sure that it's lovely outside of that, but that would be the reason I would go there.
Same. Absolutely.
The number one reason. Then Gandalf, the wizard. Gandalf the Grey.
The disturber of the peace.
The disturber of the peace. Thorin Oakenshield, he is, I mean, the dwarf king, essentially.
King under the mountain. Or hoping to be.
Hoping to be. One day to be restored. And then we've got the company of dwarves. Not all of these get their own personality, really. A lot of them operate as just the unit.
True.
So you have Dwalin, Balin, Killy, Philly, Dory, Nori, Ori. I don't know if this one is Oin or Owen.
I think it's Oin. It's okay. Oin and Gloin.
Bifur, Bofur, Bomber, and that's the full company.
Yeah.
So there are only a few that have actual, like, characteristics that you remember, and that's obviously Bomber.
Yeah.
He's the big one.
Yeah.
He's the big one, and he,
Yeah. And if I hadn't heard it spoken, because Andy Serkis, while reading it, and I think in the movie, it almost sounds like they sang Bomba.
Oh,
which, but it's spelled Bomber. So.
Yeah. And it also, like, their accent probably doesn't give it that hard R at the end. Yeah. But it is Bomber.
Yeah.
But, Killy and Philly are brothers, I'm sure. They're the youngest in the company.
And I believe they're Thorin's nephews, because they mentioned that Thorin is their mother's brother.
Yes.
So I just love the rhyming. Like, are the rhymed names, are they related? Or did they just, like, join up? Like, hey, we're a little crew. Like, Philly and Killy, Dory, Nori, Ori, Oin, Gloin. And even, like, Bifur, Buffer, Bomber. Yeah. It's like...
it's very sing-songy when you say all of them.
Yes.
fun fact, Gloin is the father of Gimli from Lord of the Rings. And Gimli, son of Gloin.
Yes. And until you mentioned it the other day, I was like, it didn't even register in my brain. But yes, Gimli, son of Gloin.
Yeah, because I think Andy Serkis in the audiobook pronounces it Glowin.
Oh.
And that's why I was like...
You might be right.
Because I think he says Owen and Glowin. And I was like, wait, but in the movies, isn't it Gimli, son of Gloin?
Yeah.
So I think it is supposed to be Gloin.
Okay. Yeah, which is what made me think it was Oin.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But again, and usually when the dwarves are mentioned, there are some that are mentioned individually here and there, like for moments when they're talking like or Balin. Something happens. But for the most part, it's like a lot of it's like it's listed several times, and it's so it just always rhymes. But yeah, however you read it, however it makes sense in your head, you know, it's all a little rhymey, sing-songy little verse, if you will.
Yes, it is. It's the names of the dwarfs is really one of the first things that tells you that this book was originally written for children.
Yeah, because it's just fun and, like I said, unbelievable that you would just be like, oh, Dwalin and Balin. You know, like that they would all like just happen to rhyme unless... And I'm sure a lot of them are related, but it still just makes me laugh.
Yeah. So then we also have Smaug. He's the dragon, the clever dragon, who is sitting on top of the treasure that is, by rights, supposed to be for Thorin Oakenshield.
Yeah. And anyone else that he stole from, that greedy jerk.
Yeah. And then we have Elrond, which you will recall from Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. He is the Elf Lord.
Of Rivendell. And then what was the name of the one from the forest?
Thranduil?
Yeah.
He's from Mirkwood.
Yeah.
That is the father of Legolas from Lord of the Rings.
But he is not in this book.
Legolas is not in The Hobbit.
But he's in the movie.
Listen, Peter Jackson.
We're going to talk about this more later, sir.
We are not finished. Then we have Bjorn, which made me think of Bjork.
Yeah.
Bjorn is the guy who he can turn into a bear. Mm-hmm. And he is the one who shows up when they get out of the Misty Mountains. Mm-hmm. And the goblins are on their tail before the eagles come. I think Bjorn comes with the eagles.
At the end?
When they get out of the Misty Mountains.
Oh, you mean after the goblin attack?
Yes.
So he doesn't come with the eagles, but that's where Gandalf...
They go to
Bjorn after, because Gandalf is basically thinking... This is an area where there's not a ton of people. There are people who have sort of settled in this area, but they're very spread out.
Yeah.
There's only one person that I know that could kind of help us and possibly protect us in this moment where we have no food, no shelter, no supplies,
no horses.
Right. So they go to Bjorn's, but that's when he does like the story of like he doesn't want to overwhelm Bjorn with like a crew of 15 or 14. So he has them come, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but he has them come every like few minutes or whatever. But
which is exactly how they showed up at Bag End. Yes.
I didn't even think about that. but yeah, so he was slightly after that. But in the end battle, he came at the same time.
Yeah.
As the eagles. Yes. So that's probably what you were thinking of. Yes.
So yeah,
is he a skinwalker? What do they call that?
Maybe a skin changer?
Skin changer? Yeah. There's a specific term, and they basically are like, do not offend him by calling him something else. This is what he is.
Yeah.
And of course I did write it down.
And then there's Bard the Bowman. He's from Lake Town, which is right near the Lonely Mountain where Smaug is residing with the treasure.
Smaug the smug jerk.
Yep. And he is the one who eventually shoots the arrow
the hero of Dale.
The hero of Dale. Okay, so those are all the main characters. And now we will do a very short, like 2-sentence plot summary.
And then we'll do the really long one.
And then we'll get into the nitty gritty. So this is basically back of the book.
Yeah.
What it says.
Probably even shorter.
Probably even shorter. So.
The Hobbit is set in Middle-earth and follows home-loving Bilbo Baggins, the titular Hobbit, who joins the wizard Gandalf and 13 dwarves that make up Thorin Oakenshield's company on a quest to reclaim the dwarves' home and treasure from the dragon Smaug. Bilbo's journey takes him from his peaceful rural surroundings into more sinister territory.
Boom.
Boom.
So, yeah, I guess we're going to talk about major plot points. Starting off with Bilbo. There is one part at the very beginning that I just love so much. First, we meet Bilbo, and it talks about his hobbit hole, and I like that it describes that he's not living in, like, a damp, dark, dirty hole. Mm-hmm. He's in, like, a nice hole.
Yeah.
Basically, it's an Earth contact home.
He's like, this guy is not shabby.
Yeah.
It's chic.
He wants no misconceptions about the kind of hobbit that Bilbo is.
True.
He's well-to-do. Mm-hmm. He's a Richie Rich.
I don't even know that, I mean, there could be hobbits that live in dirty holes, but it seems like hobbits overall enjoy comfort.
Yeah, they want to be comfortable and cozy.
And well-fed. I should have been born in that world.
I know. It just sounds like exactly the life that I want to live.
Agreed.
Come on. So Bilbo lives his quiet, peaceful life in his comfortable hobbit hole called Bag End. What a hobbit is, essentially, they're small. They call them halflings in The Lord of the Rings. They are plump because they love food, which, same.
Yeah.
They have furry toes and a great love of food and drink. Bilbo is content at Bag End, and this is near the hobbit village of Hobbiton. Mm-hmm. So he's just out here living his life.
Yeah.
And then one day he is disrupted largely.
Yes. Before we move on, I do want to I just think it's so funny, I love the detailed descriptions. I think it really makes everything come to life, but I love the fact that, like, not only do we learn that their, like, feet are furry, but also that the bottoms of their feet are hard, like a shoe sole. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, it's just funny to me. It's like, no, they don't wear shoes, but don't worry, like, the bottom of his feet are super strong.
Yeah.
Didn't want to leave that one to concern or chance.
Yeah. That is one of the things, like, when I'm watching a horror film, one of the things that really, like, makes me cringe the most is when someone is barefoot.
Yeah. And maybe he knew that. He thought, people are going to be worried about this little dude because, I mean, not that we have been told at all that the dwarves are wearing shoes, so maybe we should have been concerned about their tootsies. But I really do love the care he took to fully describe a hobbit. Yeah. Physically and even emotionally, how most of them are non-adventurous.
That's right. They want adventures of no kind of adventure.
Right, because they want to stay in comfort.
That's right.
But you have the rare hobbit that gets a little wild hair.
Yep.
A little squirrely toe hair, if you will.
Yeah.
And wants to go on an adventure.
Exactly. Exactly. So, one day, Gandalf, he shows up.
Disturbing everyone's peace.
So, my first thought here is that how did Gandalf choose Bilbo? That was my first thought until he explained it, obviously. Mm-hmm. Because Bilbo's mom is Belladonna Took, the daughter of the old Took, who was a great friend of Gandalf.
Yes.
So that is why he picks Bilbo.
Yeah. He's like, I need a little person that can sneak in and out, who can burgle for this crew. Mm-hmm. What would be good for that? Well, hobbits would be a good race for that, but most of them are pretty stingy. But my old Took friend, he was squirrely. Maybe he's got some family that would be willing to go.
And it turns out He was correct. Now, it's in this scene that my favorite exchange of the entire book happens.
About good morning?
About good morning.
I love it, too.
It's my absolute favorite. So, Bilbo wishes Gandalf a good morning. And Gandalf says, what do you mean? Do you wish me a good morning? Or mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not? Or that you feel good this morning? Or that it is a morning to be good on?
You're just full of questions.
Yeah. Just a simple salutation is all Bilbo was intending.
He's hardly had a sip of coffee.
Yeah.
Barely taken a puff from his pipe of tobacco.
He probably has only had one breakfast. He's not had his second breakfast yet.
Right. The man is not fully awake. He's just not overthinking. He just wants to wish you good morning.
Yeah, exactly.
But I love that Gandalf like overthinks it. And I just love it too. I was like, just like Bilbo says, like, all at once. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
That sounds great.
It really shows both of their characters, like who they are as characters.
Yes. It's a perfect, perfect telling interaction for sure. And then when he gets upset and he wishes him good morning, Gandalf is like, oh, so now you mean the opposite, that you wish me to
leave,
to go away. I'm sure Gandalf was a little disappointed at first when he's like, I'm gonna find a descendant of the Tukes, and they're gonna be more than pleased
ready to go
on an adventure.
Already packed.
This guy's kind of stuffy, a little uptight, maybe a little anxious. What am I supposed to do with this? And then he goes, you know what? This will be good for you.
This is it.
I've chosen you. And Bilbo's still like, for what? Huh? And even by the end of the interaction, he does not know what is intended for him.
He has no idea. He's so confused.
Poor Bilbo.
Poor Bilbo. But they have their chat, and then Gandalf basically invites himself the next day or the next couple of days.
I think in his fluster after being called out for, basically giving him a get off my lawn good day. Yeah. He's like, well, you come to tea tomorrow. Bye. And then, when he gets inside his hole, why did you invite him over?
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure Gandalf had decided, like, yeah, I'm coming back.
Right. Right.
He just hadn't communicated what that entailed to Bilbo yet.
Exactly. And then Gandalf, carves some symbol into Bilbo's front door.
Which we later learn is an invitation of thief looking for work.
Yes, it is. It's offering his services as a burglar.
That would actually be a fun tattoo, just that little rune symbol for thief looking for work.
Ooh. Hello. So we get to the next day, and Bilbo's getting ready for tea.
Yeah, he kind of forgets about it, and then as the time comes up, he's like, oh, I invited that guy for tea. I better get ready.
Because in Hobbit culture, being a good host is a big deal.
Yes.
You have to have the refreshments. You need not only the drink, but you need the food as well. And, you have to be a good host. A gracious host.
Yes. And despite what he has to endure, he is actually quite a gracious host.
He really is. He handles all of what is coming in stride.
Yeah, he doesn't really show his irritation outwardly except for near the end of the shenanigans.
Yes. Yes. So we have our dwarf crew showing up.
And the doorbell rings at first, and Bilbo's like, oh, Gandalf is here. Okay. Mm-hmm. Whatever this is going to be.
Yeah.
But it's not Gandalf. It's a dwarf.
It's a dwarf.
And moments go by, and more dwarves just show up individually or in pairs.
Yep.
Until the whole dang crew is there.
Yep. And at this point, Gandalf doesn't show up until the end. He's there with the last dwarfs, and so Bilbo just has a house full of dwarves, and he's like, what on earth is going on?
Right. Demanding food and drink, which he is graciously giving them.
And they all want something different.
And they're all eating up his entire stores. Because I don't think we said, but hobbits eat, is it 7 meals a day? It's breakfast, second breakfast, afternoon tea.
11sies.
11sies. Is it 11sies before tea?
Yeah.
So breakfast, second breakfast, 11sies, afternoon tea, dinner, supper. I'm
and
missing
there's lunch.
One. Yeah. How did I forget? Shameful. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, they eat a lot. Yeah. They have a lot of caloric needs.
Yeah. I too have a lot of caloric needs.
Oh.
But yeah, so they're just eating up all his stores, and he's not really fussing at them. You know, he's trying to be nice as they're just barking orders at him.
That's true.
And that it would have been so much nicer if Gandalf showed up first and was like, hey, surprise, this is what's happening. But instead, he lets all the dwarves show up first.
Yeah.
And Bilbo is so confused.
That's very Gandalf.
But he probably figures if he knew beforehand, he wouldn't let them in. So he figured he would have to...
The element of surprise.
Right. He'd have to be a good host even in his bewilderment. And then he's trapped into the into the deal.
Yep. He's in it at this point.
So yeah, he's serving the tea, ale, cakes, and other stuff. They're making a mess. Though I will say at one point they do clean up after themselves, which I thought was finally nice of them.
Yes. Yes.
But once they've eaten and drunk to their fill and sang some songs, then it comes out that the dwarves are embarking on a great quest to reclaim their treasure from the marauding dragon Smaug, and Bilbo is to act as their burglar.
I like the burglar element. I like that Bilbo is the burglar.
That he has a specific task, a role.
A role and a title. Mm-hmm. And I also like that it's burglar, because I like that word a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too.
And I like that you can make it into a verb and use burgle. It's so funny.
Yes.
I'm going to go burgle this house. People don't say that. I'm going to break into this house.
Right.
I'm going to rob this house. I wish people would think about their words more and their crimes. I'm going to burgle this house instead.
Not that I want us to start a life of crime, but I want us to use burgle more.
Yeah. I mean, for people out there who already live a life of crime, you should consider your vernacular and switch out rob or break into.
And use burgle.
And use burgle instead.
Do us a favor.
Yeah. And tell us about it. Obviously use code names. We won't turn you in.
Right.
But tell us about your burgling schemes.
Yeah. And you saying that made me realize no one else really had a specific role.
No.
Other than going on this adventure. So. Yeah. And that is very telling.
It's very telling that the dwarves did not have a real, true plan. Because Gandalf is the one who picked Bilbo to be the burglar. And the reason they didn't want to have a party of 13 because it's unlucky. So they wanted the 14th. And they decided that 14th person needed to be the burglar.
To do all the hard stuff.
Which he does.
I have a lot of feelings about that. Or maybe it's just one very strong feeling. But we can get there later. But even though Gandalf, who I feel like is very respected, they are very skeptical of his choice for a burglar.
Yeah, Thorin questions Gandalf
almost immediately.
For most of the book, honestly.
Even after Bilbo has done some pretty awesome things, he's still like, why'd you pick this guy?
Yeah.
And even now in the beginning, I could understand a little bit after Bilbo has his slight breakdown. But I think they questioned him even before that. I was like, he hasn't given you any inclination that he's nervous or doesn't understand what's going on yet. And you're already questioning.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, I mean, they have that little tiff, but Gandalf's like, hey, if I say he's a burglar, he's a burglar. Right. I picked him for a reason.
He will prove you wrong.
Right. And Bilbo is terrified to leave his comfortable life to seek adventure. And I love that he talks about like the struggle between his Baggins side and his Took side. Yeah. The Bagginses are very well respected hobbits.
Yeah.
They're, as Frodo says in the movie, never went on any adventures and never did anything, unexpected. But the Tooks are much more adventurous, and even it's rumored that they have, is it
an
elf in their bloodline?
Yes.
Which would play into the little mischievous nature of their side. So, but I like that the narrator is discussing kind of back and forth his inner struggle of wanting to be comfortable, but also like being mesmerized by their song and their talk of gold. Like I even marked it in the book. Like I love that moment Let me see if I can.
Yeah, and there's like the inner monologue of Bilbo thinking of like heroes and stuff like that too. So he's drawn to it, but he's conflicted.
Yeah. It says, as they sang, the hobbit felt the love of beautiful things made by hands and by cunning and by magic moving through him, a fierce and jealous love, the desire of the hearts of dwarves. Then something Tookish woke up inside him, and he wished to go and see these great mountains, and hear the pine trees and the waterfalls, and explore the caves, and wear a sword instead of a walking stick. You know, I just loved that description. And then, of course, like moments later, then he thinks about the dragon and the dangers, and then he kind of like clams back in.
Yeah.
But I just love the way that awakening inside him is described. It's beautiful to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, so with everything going, you know, even through all the discussions, Gandalf assures them that both Bilbo and the dwarves that there's more to the Hobbit than meets the eye, and he's gonna do a great job.
Yeah, he's gonna surprise everyone.
Mm-hmm. But he does have a little bit of a breakdown.
He does. He faints.
Yeah, but then he hears them kind of doubting him in the other room, and that's when the quote from the beginning of the episode, he decides like he wants to prove them wrong and be fierce.
Yeah,
you know,
I love that quote a lot.
I do too.
It's such a good one. Mm-hmm. So I mean, everybody wants to like feel like they're fierce at some point, I think.
Yeah. Especially when you're doubted. It's like,
yes.
I'll show you.
Yeah, I think that is a really excellent part in the book that shows like Tolkien he had an understanding of human nature because it is a natural reaction for most people whenever someone is like, no, you can't do that. For them to be like, what are you talking about? Of course I can. Now I'm going to do it. Yeah. Simply to defy you.
Yeah. But I think he's undecided until he runs out the door.
Yeah, he fully is. He fully is. So the dwarves spend the night, and the plan is that they're going to set out on their journey the next day at 11 sharp. Right. 11 a.m. sharp. So Bilbo wakes up, and all the dwarves and Gandalf, they're gone.
Because they had not finished the deal makings, right, as it were, before he laid himself down to rest. It was just all too overwhelming for him.
He was overwhelmed. He went to bed, and they hadn't discussed his terms, his repayment, or anything.
So when they were all gone, he's like, well, I guess, other than the mess they left, he was like, oh, okay, that wasn't a dream, but I guess I'm not going.
Yeah. So he, like, cleans up, makes himself a nice little breakfast, and he's, like, chilling, just enjoying his breakfast.
Yeah. About to have a second breakfast.
About to enjoy second breakfast. and Gandalf arrives, and he's like, what are you doing? You are supposed to meet the crew.
Right.
And that's when he finds Thorin's letter on the mantle.
Yeah. Have you not cleaned? I love how he's like, had you not cleaned the mantelpiece? It's like, did you not see the mess that they left me? They cleaned the one mess the night before, but in the morning they were in a rush to get onto the journey.
They cooked themselves their breakfast.
Right.
And then headed out without cleaning.
Right. And Bilbo was a bit perturbed that they didn't even thank him for his hospitality. That's right. You know, but luckily in the letter.
They did.
They did.
So Bilbo reads the letter, and then Gandalf basically is like, you have to leave.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
you got to go. They're leaving in 15 minutes.
Literally, you have to go now.
You have no time to grab a handkerchief, a snack, a nothing.
No walking stick.
You got 15 minutes. I need you to run.
So Bilbo runs. He doesn't get his cloak.
No.
He doesn't get his walking stick, his handkerchief, no supplies, nothing.
A man who enjoys comfort left all behind.
All of his shit.
In an instant. Mm-hmm. That's powerful.
Yeah. So he meets the company, and they have a little horse for him. A little pony, I guess.
Yeah.
They're all on ponies, because dwarves are also significantly shorter than humans.
They're just not... Yeah, when they say halfling, it's half the size of a human.
Yes.
Not a other race that's taller. It's half the average size of a human.
Right. So, like 3 foot.
Yeah. Maybe 3 foot, 3.5.
Yeah, so they're really small. And dwarves are slightly larger.
Yeah.
Than the Hobbit.
I think they're a bit taller and wider.
Yeah. They're significantly more robust.
Yes. Robust is such a good descriptor.
But they're all on ponies. And
I think, is it Balin that gives him
I believe it is Balin
cloak,
who gives him a cloak.
Which is nice.
It's very nice. So he has a cloak at this point. But I don't remember how soon after they set off that Gandalf joins them.
I think it might be like shortly after they get going or right when they're about to get going.
Yeah.
Then Gandalf had grabbed the things that he felt Bilbo would need. I think he grabbed him some handkerchiefs and some few other odd ends or whatever.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he showed up with some of the supplies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was... What is he barking at?
He's mad.
He's really upset. There's probably someone like walking outside.
Other people existing is very upsetting to dogs sometimes.
Yeah, Artie gets very territorial, and when people walk like on the street in front of our house, he's displeased.
Yeah. When the girls are in the backyard, also dogs. I don't have children that yell at passerby.
That'd be funny though.
But yeah, when they're in the fenced in backyard and they see anyone on any other street, they're like, "Hey, what are you doing over there? Are you supposed to be over there?"
Yeah.
Very upset about it.
They're so upset. So
they're just kind of going, they start their journey.
Yeah, they're going along.
There's some rain. There's some uncomfortable. But I mean, it's nothing adventurous. I don't know how long up until like the thing we're about to talk about. But they're traveling for a bit. There's some rainy times. There's some slightly uncomfortable times, and and not just Bilbo, even the dwarves are like, oh man, I miss having a comfortable place to lay and be warm and not wet all the time.
And Bilbo has the thought multiple times throughout the book how he wishes for his hobbit hole. Longs for the comfort of his hobbit hole
and his comfy chair. But I do like that he says that he's not alone in that the dwarves also have. It's not like oh yeah, puny little whiny Bilbo. It's like no, they all are like this is already uncomfortable.
Yeah, they're all experiencing massive discomfort.
But
yeah, and it's raining a lot. It rains a lot at the beginning of this journey.
It sounds so true. Just the idea of being sopping wet constantly.
Yeah, it sounds terrible. I hate even if like I step in water in my socks.
Yeah.
Let alone my full body and all of my clothes being
completely
soaked.
Drenched. Yeah.
No.
And one especially rainy, miserable night, I think they're low on food at this point.
Yeah.
And they're looking for any sort of comfort. And I think Gandalf is sort of snuck away at this point.
Yeah, Gandalf is in and out throughout the journey.
And without announcement. He's not like, hey guys, I'm gonna go scout ahead, but I'll be back. He just like dips out.
Yeah, he just disappears. And they're like, all right, well, where's Gandalf?
Right. And so they're cold and hungry, and they're thinking we need to be searching for something. So they see a fire in the distance, and they're like, okay, perfect. We got a little burglar. We'll send him. He'll be quick and quiet.
Because that is one of the things that it is talked about in the book is that hobbits can be almost silent on their feet. So they can move through like the woods and trees almost silently.
And I will say that in The Hobbit, anyway, they do mention that dwarves can be pretty nimble as well, which is hilarious because in the Lord of the Rings films, they talk about how they hear Gimli, breathing a mile away. So I was a little surprised to see that they were like, actually, dwarves aren't terrible, but they can be noisy.
Because I do think throughout The Hobbit, there are like inner monologues of Bilbo thinking about how loud the dwarves are.
Yeah. Maybe that doesn't. I thought there was a moment where they say that, but maybe it's other attributes that they're okay at or good at that Bilbo is just especially good at. But yeah, maybe they are a little more blundering than they think that they are. So maybe I have that remembered wrong.
It could be something in the film, though.
Yeah.
But
you're right. In the book, he does say that they're loud. I think it's like if they need to be quiet, maybe they can be, but it's not something they're especially skilled at.
Yeah.
But again, I could be remembering this wrong now. I just remember thinking, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But You're right. He does, like, he's like, God, these people are so loud.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so they convince Bilbo to go check it out. And there's 3 trolls sitting around that warm, toasty fire. Mm-hmm. And before he goes, you know, they're one of our favorite quotes, which we'll make you wait till later to hear it. But they're you know, their way of saying, like, well, let us know if you're in danger, if you can't come back, you know. So they're expecting he's gonna
signal them,
run into something and signal them, you know. They're like, understandably, if not, but preferably if you can signal us. But he sees trolls. He thinks he should turn back, but he just gets that Tookish feeling. I think he's like, well, I don't want to come back empty-handed. I need to prove to these guys that I'm a good burglar. So he tries to snatch something out of a troll's pocket, and it doesn't go well.
Yeah, his burgling skills do not include pickpockets.
No, especially and I thought this was so strange. The troll's wallet talked?
Yeah, it did. I think he probably would have gotten the wallet successfully had it not talked.
They're like enchanted or something. It was just a 1-sentence description, but I was like, oh, what? Yeah. I had to read it like 3 times. I was like, okay, so the wallet is what talked. Okay.
The wallet is alerting. I guess that's a foolproof alarm system for your monies.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's smart, especially with how ding-dong dumb these trolls can be. But
the trolls are really dumb.
Yeah, so he gets snatched. He does not make any sort of alert. No, so the trolls, or the dwarves come a search in, and one by one,
they're all snatched. Yeah, the trolls want to eat them.
Yeah.
And they're
a bit cleverer than you would think that they are, you know. Yeah. But yeah, I keep calling the dwarves trolls now. The dwarves get snatched. But in them grabbing the dwarves, they kind of forget about Bilbo. So he's just kind of hanging to the side, like trying to figure out what to do.
Yes.
Thankfully, after, you know, a bit of fuss, Gandalf thankfully shows back up.
He does.
Saves the day with some trickery, and all is saved.
Yeah, he does some trickery, confuses the trolls. And the thing about these trolls is they're mountain trolls, and sunlight makes them turn to stone.
Yep.
So it's very close to dawn, apparently.
None of them had watches or were paying a lick of attention.
Nope. And Gandalf distracts them, confuses them, and they end up being stricken by the sun, turned to stone. And
they're still to this day.
There they are.
The only company is birds that land on them.
It's just the birds.
And at first the dwarves are kind of like, you know, if you wouldn't have tried to burgle it, then we wouldn't be in this situation. But even Gandalf is sort of like, yeah, but it probably wouldn't have worked out as well as it has. Because now we have their food, we have their fire, we can go pillage their stuff.
Yeah.
Their stores. They have like a Walmart up in that cave.
Yeah, they have so much stuff.
There's clothes.
Gold.
All kinds of stuff.
So
it worked out.
Yeah, and they find like some really valuable, well-known, elvish-made swords.
Heck yeah.
They find Glamdring, I think is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sword that Gandalf uses. I think he actually uses that sword in Lord of the Rings. He keeps it. And then
Thorns
is
Orcrist, yeah.
Or Goblin Cleaver.
Yeah, there's one that's Goblin Cleaver and biter, or at least that's what the goblins call it. Goblins call one of them biter, and one of them something else.
Glamdring is called the Foe Maker, and they call that one. It's a B word as well, and I can't remember it.
It's not beater, is it?
Is it beater?
Maybe
it might be beater. I don't know.
Beater and biter, but
it's a B word like that. But yeah,
and then to most people, it would just be like a little knife. But to a hobbit, it's
it's a sword.
Bilbo finds a nice little sword.
Yeah.
And the stuff. So did it work out perfectly in the beginning? No. But it turned out well for all in the end.
Yeah.
They got food, fire, a little nap, some ale. Yeah. And they got a little treasure out of it. They buried it to come back later for if they so can.
Yeah, and guess what? They didn't get eaten. At the end of the day, they didn't get eaten.
No one got hurt. No one got killed.
That's right.
All is well. And now we have stuff.
Now they have stuff. So they from here, really, the next big thing is they end up being in Rivendell.
Yes.
So the real purpose of them going to Rivendell is the map.
Yeah, they need Elrond's help to read the map and kind of decipher some details that even Gandalf isn't fully knowledgeable about.
Yes. So...
And fun fact, maps is also... Bilbo loves maps.
Yeah, Bilbo loves maps. So he's super interested as well. He's also really interested to get to Rivendell. Mm-hmm. So...
to see the elves.
To see the elves. And the elves in the book are much more... fun-loving and merry.
Yeah, they sing songs that sort of taunt and tease, but in a playful way, not in a mean way. But it cracks me up.
It was really funny. They're much more playful in the Hobbit.
Lolly.
And you just cannot picture the movie elves doing that. It is just not in character.
Sorry for the wheeze. I just thought of Elrond and Legolas sitting in a tree, waving back and forth, singing "Tra-la-la-lolly," and I'm out.
Yeah, it is definitely.
Oh my gosh!
They're definitely a different vibe in the book than the movies, but yeah. So Rivendell is basically the elvish stronghold, and Elrond is the great elf lord who they're there to seek advice from on this map.
And he takes a look, and he sees the secret moon letters. And it's pretty fortuitous that they arrive when they did, because you can only read moon letters under the same phase of the moon and around the same time of year. Or I don't know that it's specific to down to the day, but it has to be the same phase and phase of the moon and time of when it was written. So they are very lucky that that they were able to read this at this time.
It is fate, if you will.
Yes. But so they learn of the kind of side secret passage, and it's actually they can get access to it on Thorin's Day, which is coming up, I think, only in a couple months.
Yeah, it's
something.
The last of the autumn moons or something.
Yes. So not soon, but
pretty soon.
They need to get rolling on this. Yeah. But they need to at least get there by that day so they can see that.
Yeah.
Entrance or be able to get into that side entrance.
Yeah.
And then Elrond also reads the runes on Orcrist and Glamdring, and that's when we kind of learn a little bit more about them. But they spend a short time there, and then they are well rested and enjoying, but they have to resume their journey to the Misty Mountains.
Yeah. They actually were in Rivendell for 14 days.
Which to me, it's sort of oh yeah, you guys got to get moving.
Yeah.
But we're going to hang out for 2 more weeks.
Yeah. They did not want to leave.
No, I mean, Bilbo talks about how comfy it is.
It's comfortable there. They have food. Songs.
Honestly, they get a lot of help without really ask of anything in return. I don't think Elrond really asks for anything. It's just sort of he gives them aid because he knows Gandalf, and
that's it. Yeah. It's like that in Lord of the Rings too.
They're just, I don't know if people are just well off and they're, hey, I have it, you need it. Mm-hmm. We're good.
Yeah, and
I thought it was nice.
It's just the elves.
Him.
Yeah. The other elves are not as nice.
No. Not quite.
Not quite as nice. Okay, so after their 14-day stay in Rivendell, the company, minus Gandalf again, who has yet again flew the coop.
I think he is with them when they're here. He hasn't flown the coop yet because he's in the cave when they get grabbed, right?
No.
Well, because Bilbo wakes him up and he does the flash of light. So he's with them.
He's with them in the cave, but I don't think he's with them when they leave Rivendell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. He's with them because
I don't think he leaves them again until he gets them to Bjorn, and then he leaves for a bit and then comes back. But I think when they leave them, I think that's when he kind of tells them, like, I'm not going to be with you a ton longer.
Yeah.
Because when they're alone is when they're...
in Mirkwood.
Yes. But at this point, I believe he's with them.
Yeah, you're right.
They find the cave. I feel like I'm not trying to be that jerk that's like, actually. But I believe he stays with them because he sleeps with them in that cave, and luckily Bilbo wakes him up, and that's how he does the flash of light, and he's able to save them.
Yeah, because whenever they're... Okay, so they have to traverse the Misty Mountains and get across them. Mm-hmm. So there's a thunderstorm. They're on the edge of the mountain, exposed to the elements. Mm-hmm. And then there are the stone giants doing their thing.
Playing in the rain.
In the movie, it makes it look so much more combative, like they're fighting. But
yeah,
in the
it
book,
does.
They're like playing games and throwing things to each other.
Yeah.
So the stone giants are throwing boulders around, and the crew is like,
Yeah, and it's, again, wet and miserable.
So Killy and Philly find this cave.
Yeah, and they say they find this cave in record time, so they're a little skeptical, like, are you sure that you found a safe cave that quickly?
Yeah, turns out, no.
But they thought yes.
They thought yes.
Because it's not deep.
Yeah.
Which is the danger of a cave.
And they still have all their ponies with them, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because they left Rivendell with all their ponies and the replenished stock of goods.
They're fully laden with food and supply. Mm-hmm. So they find this cave. They go in. Everybody is like, all right, this seems legit. They all lay down to rest and get dry. Mm-hmm. But Bilbo does not sleep. Mm-mm. He can't sleep.
Something is bad, weird dreams.
Yeah, something's nagging at him. Mm-hmm. Well, it turns out that they're in the goblins' lair.
Yeah, in their little sneaky capture cave.
Yeah, there's a hidden whatever.
There's a crack almost. Yeah, there's a hidden door, and as soon as Bilbo's woken from which in his dream he's dreaming of a crack in the wall. Mm-hmm. So he clearly is half asleep, half awake watching this happen, but he fully wakes up, sees the ponies disappearing into the crack.
Yes.
And then that's when all the dwarves get grabbed. Him and the dwarves get grabbed. But he yells, and luckily that alerts Gandalf.
Yes.
But unfortunately, they're all grabbed and whisked away. What they don't realize is that Gandalf does wake up in time. He flashes light, kills some goblins, and is in chase after them.
Yeah. So we have the dwarves and Bilbo. They're taken to the big goblin.
Yeah.
Is
he the Goblin King or the Great Goblin?
I think he's the Great Goblin in the books.
Yeah.
So they take the crew to the Great Goblin, and the Great Goblin is he's basically gonna imprison them, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know that does it say what he wants to do to them. I don't think they want to eat them.
I thought that they did.
Did they want to eat them?
I thought so.
They really encounter a lot.
I thought they wanted to kind of torture them, but...
Torture, yes.
But I feel also inevitably they wanted to eat them. Maybe not, but I feel why waste good meat?
I mean, they encounter so many creatures that want to eat them.
Yeah.
The trolls,
they do not
goblins,
discriminate. They're it moves and it's got meats on it, so I eats it.
I eats it. If it's meats, I eats it.
But luckily they don't get...
They don't get to.
Because Gandalf comes with his goblin killing sword, and I just right away does he just lop off the Great Goblin's head?
I think he kills him. Yeah.
And so then all the goblins are in pursuit of them, and they're running kind of blindly through the caves, and
Gandalf has barely lighting their path.
Right. And of course the dwarves, being the way that they are throughout this entire story, they're kind of, why do I have to help carry the Hobbit? Listen, he's small and he's serving a purpose. You're going to have to help him out.
Help the poor guy out.
Right. So one of them is kind of carrying him begrudgingly, but then they kind of trip and get attacked, and
Yeah, it's Bomber, I believe.
Yeah.
He's carrying Bilbo when he falls, and Bilbo hits his head.
Yeah, and so he falls down, and is completely separated from the team. And we don't know what happens to them at this point.
Right.
We just wake up with Bilbo down in the depths of the goblin cave.
Yeah.
And that's when we meet
Gollum. Yeah, Bilbo's like feeling around. He can't see. He said it specifically says that he opens his eyes, but he's not sure if he did because it's so dark.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
His writing is so good because I can perfectly either feel or picture exactly what he is describing.
Yeah.
And how terrifying that must be to open your eyes and be like, whoa.
Yeah. And he doesn't he doesn't have to do too much exposition on things like that. That it's like that one phrase to tell you how dark it is. Yes. He doesn't go get over flowery or add too many extra sentences. He's a really concise writer, actually.
Yeah.
And so it's just to describe how dark it is, he doesn't say it's really dark. He just says Bilbo opened his eyes, but he wasn't sure that he had.
Yeah.
That's such excellent writing.
It is. Excellent.
It's so excellent. So Bilbo can't see. He's feeling around, and he feels the ring. He's like, it's a cold metal ring. And he just puts it in his pocket.
Yeah.
He doesn't think about it.
He's not being greedy. He's just like, oh, this could be, I don't know. It's a thing.
Sure.
Keep it.
Boom, in the pocket. And he also realizes when he pops it in his pocket that he still has his sword.
Yes.
Because he had put it on inside of his trousers. So it was not seen.
Obvious. Yeah.
The goblins didn't take it.
Smart
Bilbo. And this is, as he's wandering around. So he pulls out his sword, and the sword kind of glows enough to show him at least a little bit of what's around him.
Yeah, he realizes that it glows. I don't know that it specifically says in the presence of goblins, but basically because the goblins are near. And I, again, like how he put it, it was like they were close but not close enough. So it was like it was dimly lit. It wasn't super bright. So he knew he wasn't in immediate danger.
Right.
So good.
So nice. And eventually he runs into Gollum.
Sees him out on his little island.
Yeah, in the middle of this pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had the moment from Two Towers. Nice and cool and juicy sweet.
That's so funny. Oh, Gollum.
Just, yeah. So he's probably having a similar moment, just fishing for fish.
In his waters.
Yeah. And then he's like, hey, what's that over there?
What is that? And Gollum has lived under the Misty Mountain for so long that he can see in the darkness.
Yes.
Like he's evolved
to
be able to see.
And again, he is not, discriminatory. If it's meats, he eats.
That's right.
So when goblins wander down there by themselves, he'll grab him a goblin for a gobble.
Yeah.
He'll eat some goblin.
Not afraid. Not afraid. And this is when, Gollum, he wants to eat Bilbo.
He's like, ooh.
Hello.
A new snack.
And it's not goblin.
Yeah.
So this is whenever we get the riddles.
Yeah. It's so, I don't know if there's much of a debate. He's just sort of like, hey, you look tasty. And Bilbo's like, hey, can you show me the way out?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what if, why don't we play a game? And if I win, then you'll let me leave and not eat me.
Yeah.
How about that?
So that's the stakes.
Yeah.
If Bilbo wins, Gollum shows him how to get out.
Yeah.
And if Bilbo loses, Gollum eats him.
Those are high stakes for a game of riddles.
Yeah. The terms here.
God.
Yeah.
But the riddles are actually pretty excellent. I would have died immediately.
I would have definitely gotten the mountain.
Yeah.
The first one.
Yeah.
That Gollum asks Bilbo.
But they're all so good. They're just all such good riddles.
Yeah.
And I just love it. But yeah, I was like, oh, wow. I would have been so nervous. My brain would have been blank. And I would have been a meal.
Yeah, I think
instantly.
This would be a defining moment for most people. Are you someone who can perform under pressure?
Yeah.
And the answer is probably no.
But you being a Ravenclaw, I think you would have made it through this flying colors.
I'm not bad at riddles. I'm okay at riddles.
I feel like it has to be an interest of yours, and you have to really be practiced at it, which luckily for the both of them, they were.
And in the books, it's described as like, this is something that all peoples of Middle-earth understand. The riddle game is like a sacred thing.
That's true, yeah.
So the way that they approach it, they're very serious about it. Yeah. It's like terms and agreed upon, and we're going to honor.
Right. It's not like, they're playing rock, paper, scissors for their life, for Bilbo's life, but...
Yeah. This is serious.
Yeah. It's more like chess.
It's more like chess, yeah.
Of the mind.
Of the mind. So, go read the riddles from The Hobbit.
Yeah,
and
they're great.
I already gave one of them away, but see if you can figure out which one I gave away.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah.
But they're at a stalemate, and it's Bilbo's turn, and he's like over it. Mm-hmm. He's fully over it at this point, and he simply asks, "What have I got in my pocket?"
Yep. Which isn't officially a riddle, but he could not think of one.
Yeah, he couldn't think of one, and in the end, Gollum agrees to it.
Yeah, and especially the fear in this moment, again, is just written so well because, like, Gollum, if he senses that Bilbo is not answering a riddle, he will get off his island into his boat to, like, row over to where Bilbo is. And so, like, a couple times he starts to creep to his boat. He goes back, but eventually he gets in his boat, comes over, and stays. Like, the pressure is on. He is looming. Like, Bilbo is, like she said, it's like he is done with this. And, riddle, what's in my pocket?
And Gollum even says that's not a riddle. But Bilbo gives him 3 guesses.
Yeah, I mean, Gollum says, he's like, you have to at least give me 3 guesses. It's like, boy, you should have asked for 5.
Yeah. But yeah. Obviously, he does not guess the riddle.
No.
And so, verbally, he says, okay, you win. I'm going to take you out. So I think it's at this point he's decided he's going to eat Bilbo anyway.
Yeah, and Bilbo can tell.
Bilbo knows.
Yeah.
What Bilbo doesn't know is that the ring is Gollum's, and Gollum knows that if he puts it on, he becomes invisible.
Yeah, he's like, I'll show you the way out. Just let me go get something real quick.
Yeah, and he's thinking he's gonna go get his ring. He's gonna become invisible, and he's gonna snatch Bilbo and eat him. But he can't find his ring.
And then it's like, so what do you have in your pocket?
Yeah.
And then I think Bilbo puts it on by accident, just reaching into his pocket, right?
Yes.
And then realizes by context clues of Gollum, like, looking past him that...
Right.
Oh, I'm invisible.
Exactly. In the film, they did the Frodo version.
Yeah.
Where Bilbo falls and his hand is up and the ring slides on his finger.
Which is a great visual, but...
It is a really nice visual, but it's almost... It doesn't have the same effect. Like
the second time you see it.
Yeah, when you see it in Lord of the Rings, and it's like that slow motion falling onto Frodo's hand.
Yeah.
It has a little more impact than in The Hobbit.
I agree. But yeah, so he realizes he's invisible, and then Gollum can't see him, so then he thinks that Bilbo must have made a run for it. Yeah. So Gollum's sort of following the path to the way out, and Bilbo smartly is following silently behind him.
Yep.
Until he gets to, I guess, a make or break it moment, if you will, and he kind of has the opportunity to kill Gollum, but he takes pity on him. He he sees how distraught he is without the ring, and just kind of, he takes pity on this creature, even as cruel as he is.
Yeah.
Which is, again, very telling of Bilbo's character.
It is.
But he hops over his head and gets away.
Yep.
At least for a bit, and then he kind of runs into some goblins in a doorway, but luckily he's able to sneak through. He loses several buttons in the exit of the cave, but long story short, he gets out.
He gets out. And he finds the crew, basically just outside of the cave opening.
Yeah, I think he, like, wanders for a bit, and he's actually debates, like, should I go back in? Like, are they in there? Mm-hmm. And I think he kind of, not wrestles with himself, like, no, I don't want to. It's like, is that where they are? Is that what I should do? And he resolves, like, I gotta go back.
Yeah.
And then he hears them, thankfully. You know, they're right there. But
they're talking shit.
They're talking mad smack, and they're even, Gandalf is like, I really wish you wouldn't have lost him.
Yeah.
Which, just the way he says those things makes me laugh. He's like, I liked him quite a bit, and I really wish you wouldn't have lost him. But, you know, they're like, I can't be expected to keep an eye on him. And they weren't going to go back for him.
No, they were not.
They were debating it. And Bilbo doesn't even like, hey, jerks. He's just like, ba-ba-da, here I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
But during their little bickering, I was like, he by himself was going to turn around and go back for you guys.
He was.
And you all, crew of a dozen eggs.
Yeah.
A baker's dozen.
Dwarves and a wizard.
And you were arguing over going back to look to see. I understand you don't want to risk the whole crew for one person, but at the same time.
Yeah.
You don't know that he's dead or not.
And it's your fault.
That you lost him.
You dropped him.
Yeah. Because you were begrudgingly carrying him to begin with. You weren't like trying to carry him with the idea of let's keep him safe.
Yeah.
They treat him like a burden and also a tool that's not working right, even though he constantly comes through for them.
And he reminds them his one job has not come up yet.
Yeah. Even though
this is his job.
They've been like, okay, yeah, you go do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go do that. What have you lazy lot done?
Yeah.
Not much but complain and be turds.
And if they don't send Bilbo, they send Killy and Philly.
Yeah.
Come on.
Clearly I'm a little fired up by that, but...
One. So at this point, they're outside. Mm-hmm. And this is when the wargs come up.
Yes.
So the wargs are like wolves.
That's kind of how they're
like described.
Are they kind of like big, oversized wolves?
I think so.
Kind of gnarly wolves.
Yeah. What's interesting about the wargs is that George R.R. Martin uses wargs in Game of Thrones.
Oh, when he calls them wargs?
He calls them wargs. But
nice.
It's more of like, it's not a creature that is a warg. Mm-hmm. It's like a power.
Oh.
So, like, the Stark kids, the main, like, family, at the very beginning, they find the direwolves, which is the sigil of House Stark. That's their sign, is the direwolf.
And those are, like, the big, pretty, traditional-looking
wolves
that are just oversized.
Yes. Direwolves were actually real.
Oh, yeah.
So they were actually real. They're, like... Because a wolf itself is probably on us, on me, like waist height. Like,
I am shorter than Maddie.
So I'm 5'8" for context. So it probably hits me at like my waist. A regular wolf.
Their head.
Yeah. So a dire wolf is probably shoulder height, to be honest. Like they're very large.
The real direwolf.
So,
now, J.R.R. Martin direwolves, are they like taller than your head? Or are they pretty like shoulder?
Yeah,
height?
they're supposed to be, like that. So in the story, the Stark children each get a wolf. And throughout the story, there's magic that comes up. This is not depicted in the show, by the way. This is book canon only. So it's discovered that the Stark kids have the ability to warg or put their consciousness into the body of their wolves.
Ooh.
So they call it warging. So it's like a verb.
That's cool.
Instead of like these wargs.
That's a cool homage, I bet.
Yeah. So it's instead of just having wargs, it's something that they can do. So they warg into the wolves.
Interesting. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. But these wargs are creatures.
Evil.
Yeah. And they're,
They're pursuing them at this point.
Yeah. Well, and I think it said, like, they were there, like, waiting to have a meeting with the goblins because they were going to go round up some of the people that had moved kind of into those areas. Like we kind of briefly mentioned before. They wanted to, like, basically terrorize and grab and eat these people. So they were going to have a meeting about it first.
Yeah.
So they were already waiting for the goblins, and then they were like, hey, what are these?
Yeah.
They think them spies. Either way, they're like, I don't know what this is, but they come after them.
Yeah.
And they all have to climb up in trees, and again, no one wants to help poor Bilbo climb up in the tree.
He's 3 foot tall.
And yes, one of the dwarves almost does die in jumping down and like helping Bilbo up, but maybe if you hadn't whined for 10 minutes first, you wouldn't have had a narrow escape.
Which dwarf was that?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I
marked it because I kind of, at first, I was just so mad at the times that they were such jerks that I was like, you know what? I'm making note of this.
Yeah.
And it might have been Dory or I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were just like, I can't be carrying burglars on my back and helping him all the time.
Come on, bud.
I will roll my eyes at you so hard, it's not even funny.
Come on, bud.
I can't remember. I marked it, but it's not worth.
It's not that deep.
I should have probably put like notes on my tags, but it's all good. Bottom line, they get up into the trees and out of the wargs' reach.
Yeah, and Gandalf kind of like summons the eagles.
So and I only have such good recollection because I like read this yesterday.
Yeah.
To make like notes and marks and stuff. So and I don't remember specifically, but I think at this point the goblins kind of start to show up and then they're like in real trouble.
Yeah.
So then Gandalf starts making his like multicolored fire blasts at the wolves. It like engulfs their fur and they're on fire and they're setting everything on fire and setting the forest on fire. And then we kind of get like this little narrative like separate spot where it's like up in the mountains, the eagles, they can see down and they kind of see this situation happening. And I think they recognize Gandalf is down there, but also they just have like a great dislike of goblins. So that's when I think the eagle leader decides that they're going to go help.
Yeah.
And that's when they come save the day. I mean, Gandalf's doing a decent enough job, but he's setting them on fire, and eventually they're like, okay, well, I'm just going to lean my on-fire body against these trees.
Right.
And more goblins are showing up, and they're woefully outnumbered.
So outnumbered.
But thankfully, the eagles do come and rescue them, and I just have to say this right now. Everyone's always like, why don't the eagles just take them all the way? Why don't the eagles take Frodo to the mountain?
You wouldn't have a story.
Right. First of all, you wouldn't have a story. Especially in Lord of the Rings, they had to do it incognito. But even in this, they are their own race of people. They aren't just like, do you think if they just handed rides out to everybody, they would have a moment's peace? No. They help them out of the good of their hearts. They get them to a safe spot. But then they go on about their own lives. They don't have time.
Yeah, they're doing
to be
other
running these
stuff.
Dwarves. And and again, you wouldn't have a story. But I don't want to hear the argument of why didn't the eagles just take them the rest of the way? Because they got other things to do.
Right.
Got their own lives to live. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
We're thankful and glad that they came when they came.
Yes. And come on, this is a story. This is an adventure.
Yeah.
And, some things do have to happen to further the plot.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to.
You don't want people to be completely stupid and tons of tomfoolery because then it just feels like cheap and annoying. But sometimes just things have to unfold in unfortunate ways.
Yeah.
For the story to be interesting and unfold.
You have to unfold your story in some way.
Yeah.
So leave the eagles alone. They're not pack mules.
Absolutely not.
So
they're quite proud beings.
Yes.
And I don't think it says that they're unkind, but they're not like overly generous creatures either.
Right.
Most of them are not like, let me go help out the humans. This particular one group, I just think that king is a bit kinder, but also like knows Gandalf.
Yeah. Right.
Otherwise, and they hate goblins.
Yeah, kind of like the elves, right? The elves are generous to people who come see them, but they're not out actively, like, recruiting people to come to Rivendell.
Right. They're not like, come take all of our goods and stuff.
And they're good with Thorn and company being in Rivendell because they're with Gandalf.
Yeah. Do you notice how many different races are like, not super fond of dwarves?
Yeah.
And with all the gripes I've made, I can kind of see, like, dwarves are a little rude, so I can see where
they're a tiresome
where
bunch.
that kind of comes from, I guess.
Yes, they're a difficult and tiresome bunch.
But then, after you know, what is it? It's like out of the frying pan into the fire, you know?
Yeah.
They get a little bit of respite, and that's when Gandalf's like, hey, I know a guy. I'll take you to, is it Bjorn? And they stay with Bjorn for a little bit. Bjorn's not, he seems very stoic, but he loves a good story. He's got some depth to him. He just doesn't show it a lot, but he's a big burly man.
And he turns into a bear.
Yeah. A big old bear. I think, can he turn into a couple other things, or just like maybe one other thing, or just like variations of the bear? It's not just like he turns into a regular bear. Like he can, like I think in the battle he kind of, because his rage is so big, he kind of gets bigger or whatever. But and I like that I noted that, like Gandalf said, he's not on any other enchantment but his own. So it's not like he's cursed or anything. This is, he doesn't really say how he became this way, but it's just sort of like, hey, he's not under any body's spell. He's not vexed. He is just, this is something he can do.
Yeah. That's
period. End of story.
Kind of like Tom Bombadil from Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
He's not cursed or enchanted. He just exists and always has.
Yeah.
That's kind of the explanation you get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But then after being with Bjorn, that's when Gandalf's like, okay, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, on your own for a while. Yeah. I may see you. I may pop in. Is that when he says, I may pop in on you from time to time to see how you're doing?
Yeah. But and he leaves them in Mirkwood, which is like historically
not great.
Not the best. Yeah.
Not safe.
Not super safe.
Hey, see that dangerous alleyway over there? That's where I'm leaving you.
You're on your own, so figure it out.
Figure it out.
If you know what show that's from,
10 points.
You get 10 points. Do with that what you will.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're in Mirkwood. They do not have a good time in Mirkwood. So there's a lot of rain. They run out of food. They don't have food for several days in a row.
And part of it, isn't it because they're not supposed to stray from the path?
Right.
And what do these suckers do?
They stray from the path. And it's like, I think at one point they get into a part where they're all really tired. So there's something about the forest that makes them... it's the river. There's like a river that Bjorn tells them not to drink from or bathe in.
Yeah. Like they get all kinds of warnings that they
get so many warnings. And they just... Bomber falls into it. And he is instantly like asleep.
Yeah.
And they have to get him out, so then the water gets on them. And I think at some point they're all kind of like asleep.
There's this whole section of the book. There's just so much, because there's the being attacked by spiders, but then there's also a good chunk where they're just like tired and wet. And I think this is probably after the spiders, and we can get more on them. But yeah, then they're like chasing around firelight throughout the forest, and whoever like goes into the camp where the fire is, first of all, the fire goes out and all the people that they think they saw in there just disappear. Gone. But then the person who like jumped in to like try and talk to whoever it is falls immediately asleep and has like dreams of food and feast and, you know, is very depressed when they wake up.
Yes. So that's, Mirkwood is like a fever dream, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think this is like the first instance of Bilbo really being the one.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, he gets separated from the dwarves. Again. And he encounters one giant spider and kills it. And he names his sword Sting.
Heck yeah, he does.
So he feels very proud of himself. He's like, I just took that thing down.
Yeah, I can do this.
Hell yeah. So then he's trying to find the crew, and he finds, like, the lair of all the spiders, and they have all the dwarves wrapped up in their spider silk, hanging from, like, a tree branch. So Bilbo has to figure out, with his little nimble light-footedness, how to, like, get the spiders away from the crew so he can cut them down and save them. And he does. I think he kills another spider, too. Or a couple.
I think he kills a couple.
So he rescues them from the giant spiders. Now, I would have died. For sure. I would have died of a heart attack before it could kill me.
I would like to think I would have the courage of Sam, you know, especially if I was defending my friends.
Oh, with Sheila.
Yes, I feel I would wish that I could be that, but I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that part is so sad. He's convinced that Frodo's dead.
I know.
Oh,
It's heartbreaking, but he still defends him with everything he's got.
He does. He takes it there.
But yeah, and Bilbo doesn't have fight training.
No.
Comfy Hobbiton, are you crazy?
Bilbo can make a mean set of eggs, but he cannot fight.
I want him to make me breakfast.
For sure. So,
but he rescues them, but then that's when they're tired and hungry and foodless and wandering, and then finding the fires and
yeah, and they eventually get taken by the elves.
Yeah,
these are like wood elves, and there's like an elf king.
Yeah,
and eventually the elves take them.
Yeah,
they've already taken Thorin, haven't they?
Yeah.
I think
Did they take Thorin first.
I know that Thorin.
Or last.
I think he's first. I don't remember.
But they capture them and they kind of keep them all separate, right?
Yeah, and then they imprison them all in separate, like, dungeons.
Yeah, but they feed them. And shelter them.
They do.
So, I mean, they're not cruel to them.
But they just put them in prison.
Yeah, but he's like, hey, you kept trying to attack my people. Yeah. And they're like, what do you mean?
We were just trying to get some food.
Right. I was tired and hungry, and I tried to ask you for help, but you guys did disappear. What do you mean we were trying to attack you?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
But they also won't tell the Elf King who they are.
Yeah,
that's true. Keeping their identity from him. And Bilbo's not captured. Bilbo is at large. Again. So he's just saved them from the spiders, and now he has to re-save them from the elves.
And again, I think they're in prison for a bit.
They're there for a bit. Because Bilbo has to, like, follow the other elves and kind of figure out how to get them out.
Right. And this is a thing that he alone has to figure out.
Yeah.
And he's kind of stealing food, I think, to keep himself alive.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's wearing the ring for a good long while, I think, to stay hidden.
Exactly.
But he is working hard
to get them
free.
Yeah. So he's dropping some eaves on the elves. And
I haven't been dropping no eaves, sir, honest.
That's such a wholesome Samwise Gamgee thing to say.
I love him.
So he figures out that they're having a shipment of goods.
They dispose of certain things through this, like, waterway thing. And so he thinks, oh, I can hide them in those empty barrels.
Yes.
I don't know, because, I mean, obviously, they're like, these don't feel empty. It's like, hey, those are marked for disposal. Do you want to argue with the guy in charge?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So.
And I think the elves are a little drunk also.
The elves are pretty drunk as well. And there's a feast going on, so the elves who are supposed to be down there by the little waterway aren't really down to be there.
Right, they're looking for any excuse to, like, they're like, hey, we got stuck doing this, working while everyone else is partying. This is baloney.
Yeah, exactly. So Bilbo he's burgling the hell out of this castle.
Yeah.
And he is able to get all the dwarves down there and stuffed in these barrels.
Yeah.
It's a little bit difficult with Bomber because he's large.
We talk about how large Bumper is a few times.
Yeah, but it says like his barrel almost didn't float because he's so large.
Right. Poor Bumper. I mean, but he has a little cranky attitude, and he's kind cranky. Of a butt, so I don't feel too bad for him.
Especially when they're in the forest and they don't have any food.
Mm-hmm. He's especially whiny about it, which I would too.
I would complain. Listen, I haven't eaten since breakfast, and we need to eat.
I was gonna say, oh yeah, we need to definitely get some lunch / dinner going on.
Yeah, I feel them for sure, but. Come on. So, here we are. We're floating in barrels down the river. Mm-hmm. And Bilbo Bilbo's not in a barrel. He's just in the lake, isn't he? Like, holding on to the barrel?
I can't remember. I thought they all got into barrels, but maybe...
There was nobody to put Bilbo in a barrel and then seal it.
And that's not a part I recollect. But either way, they all escape.
All escape.
Whether he's in barrel or not in barrel...
They're all escaping.
Yes.
And they get to Lake Town. That is a human settlement near the Lonely Mountain. Mm-hmm. And they get out of their barrels. I don't know.
Yeah. They kind of talk to the townsfolk for a little bit. You know, I don't think that they're hiding from them.
Right.
You know, they talk to the people and they're just like, hey, we want to go get our wealth. And isn't the leader just sort of like, okay, go get your wealth. And then maybe they'll give us some.
Yeah, because I think...
Or at least it'll make it more of a prosperous town again, you know, or something.
Because I think they tell Thorin that Smaug had stolen some of their treasure as well. So they have a part of the treasure is theirs. And not all of it is Thorin's. So,
but again, for some reason, that part just didn't like really stick in my brain. I was just like, they hung with they were there. The people there. They kind of passed through. I think they maybe gave them a little bit of hospitality, but then it was sort of like, okay, then they're on their way
again
to the mountain.
Yeah, because they're at this point they're there at the mountain.
Yeah.
So
because it is like at the base of the mountain, and and they were devastated greatly when Smaug came.
Right.
You know,
exactly. Destroyed it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But that's when we meet
Bard. The bowman. So they arrive at the mountain, and apparently they arrive precisely when they're supposed to because they find the door.
They might be there again for like a bit.
Yeah.
But basically, they find the door that they need to go into.
And so Bilbo sneaks into the mountain through the door. Mm-hmm. He's doing, this is the task he was recruited for.
Yes.
And he is finally doing.
Yeah. So even though he's already been doing the most out here.
He has been doing the most. And he talks to Smaug. Mm-hmm. He's talking to Smaug, and Smaug actually reveals to him the secret of killing him.
Did Smaug reveal it, or did he just notice it? And there was I know that then there was like a thrush who also saw it or noticed it or something, and that helps later. But I couldn't remember if Smaug.
I think he just he
was kind of talking about. I was gonna say he was kind of talking about
his armor,
how impenetrable his armor is, or whatever. And then Bilbo
sees the one spot.
Yes. Yeah, it's sort of like if you weren't bragging so much about how tough you are.
Drawing attention to your strength and in the same breath drawing attention to your weakness.
Yeah.
Come on, Smaug.
Yeah.
Get it together. So at this point,
I know he steals a cup at one point.
Yeah, he steals a golden cup.
Does he just do that to prove to the dwarves, like, hey, I went down there, I saw it, I talked to him, like...
Yeah, and it also, I don't know if it's to draw him out, maybe. Because he takes it and... starts to run with it. And Smaug is really mad and starts to, chase him, essentially, and flies out of the mountain.
And he's, like, trying to destroy every possible exit of the...
Yes.
And that part was especially kind of scary when they're, like, huddling in their cave and, like, Smaug is just out there, like...
Blasted.
And Bilbo's like, please, you gotta shut the door. You gotta shut the door. He's gonna get us. And they were all like, I don't want to shut the door. What if we can't get it open? And just in time, they finally listened to him. They shut the door and boom, Smaug blows that side of the mountain. They would have been dead. Again, not trusting Bilbo.
Yeah.
Almost got them killed. Yes. But just the writing in that moment, like, you feel the fear.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true fear.
Yeah.
So, in his fury, Smaug is flying, and there's Lake Town. And this is when Bard the Bowman shoots the black arrow in Smaug's weak spot and kills him. But before Smaug dies, he actually burns Lake Town.
Yeah. And is he just mad because he can't find the dwarves and he's just fed up? He's like, you're trying to steal from me. I'm gonna get you.
Yeah.
Maybe if you realize that I think he was thinking, he was like, they had to have helped them get here. They're all culpable, you know, and that's when he goes to. But luckily there was that little thrush bird that was in there with Bilbo. And he tells Bard about the spot.
Yeah.
And then Bard sees it, takes care of business.
He does.
It's pretty quick, actually. It's not a long drawn out. It's sort of like, hey, he's killing our people. We got to do something. Yeah. There's the weak spot.
Boom. Got the shot. There
he did.
He's dead. And that's the end of Smaug. So, this is not the end of the story, though.
I was going to say, but not the end of the story. End of Smaug, but not the end of the story.
Yes. So, Lake Town has been burned. And at this point, we are now having a convergence of creatures to the Lonely Mountain.
And before Smaug was killed, he had been out flying around for a while, like blasting the outside of the mountain before he attacked Lake Town. But in that time that he was gone, they being the dwarves and Bilbo, went down to where the gold is, just kind of see what their plunder would be if they could get it.
Assess the situation.
Yeah. And they're in there for, I think, a few days. So Smaug's just out there, I guess, exhausting himself. I don't know why he was gone so long, but that's when they see all the treasure and they're just spending days with it and getting more, like, mesmerized by it and greedy. And that's when Bilbo finds the Arkenstone. But he doesn't say anything.
Right.
He hides it.
He knows.
I think he knows how precious it is, but he also, I don't know, he's just not ready to share it yet. I don't think he had any intentions of keeping it for himself. I just think to me, it just was an instinct or a feeling, you know, and he gets some armor, you know, they find armor and stuff like, you know, but they're just hanging out in there. And then I don't remember how they figure out how to escape, but they do escape. And maybe that's also what kind of triggers Smaug to be like, fine, I'm killing Lake Town. So they're out of the mountain and don't even know that Smaug, they don't watch Smaug get killed.
Yeah.
They're just off. Bard kills Smaug, and then that's when the people are like, oh, well, I bet the dwarves got killed in all this mayhem. Yeah. I mean, he burned our town to the ground. Surely he killed the group that was in the mountain with him. So they must be dead. There's tons of gold in there, guys. And not necessarily, I don't think that, I mean, yes, it's greedy, but also it's a mountain full of gold and their town was just destroyed. Like, that would help them.
They need it.
Rebuild. They need it.
They need it. So you got the humans from Lake Town. They're like, oh, we got to get our coin. Yeah. And then the elves from Mirkwood are also marching to seek their share of the treasure.
I feel like Bard calls them because they're friends or something. So he's like, hey, can you come? You want to come help us out? Yeah. And also too, I think everyone's just like, hey, this could be a fight. This is unclaimed treasure right now.
This is fully unclaimed.
But while everyone else is amassing, a raven tells the dwarves, like, hey, Smaug's dead. But I think you better get back to your treasure. Like, lickety split.
Yeah. Because, like, I think Thorin is thinking, this is mine by rights. Yes. This is what I have inherited. This is through the toil of my ancestors. So this is mine. Unarguably.
My people were killed. We were kicked out of our home. Exactly. We've been wandering because of this injustice, you know.
For decades and decades.
Yeah. So to him, it all belongs to them.
Right.
Him.
Yes. And the other people don't see it that way, though. Lake Town is like, hey, I get a chunk of that.
They're nice about it.
They're nice.
You know? They're like, hey, I feel like because of your excursion, my town and some people got burned to the ground.
Yeah.
I think it's only fair that you at least give us back what Smaug stole from us, or give us, you know, a chunk. And Thorin's like,
nah.
Nah, that's mine.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. So the humans, with the help of the elves, basically, like, storm the mountain.
Yeah, well, and Bilbo sees the war brewing, and he's like, no, I don't want this.
Yeah.
So he decides, and he knows it's a great betrayal.
Yes.
But he feels this is the best way to kind of make peace, get everybody what they deserve.
Yeah. And avoid bloodshed.
Right. Avoid bloodshed. I think that's his biggest thing. So he sneaks out, and he decides to give Bard the Arkenstone to trade for what they are owed. Because Thorin makes the comment that the Arkenstone is worth a river full of treasure. And he wants it just like it's a symbol of his
lineage.
His birthright. It's so incredibly precious. Like, he has been searching for this sucker, and Bobo has not given it up.
Yeah. And now he's giving it to Bard.
Yeah. So when they storm and they're like, look, are you going to do what's right? And he's like, ha, nope. And he, you know, he kind of like, if you're threatening me to ask for stuff, like, I'm definitely not going to do it now. It's like, well, I'm only doing this because of how you're behaving.
Yeah.
So then they're like, hey, I'll trade you the Arkenstone for a portion of the treasure. You give me what's owed to me, I'll give you your precious treasure back. And he's pissed, and he's like, how'd you get it?
Yeah.
Bilbo doesn't even, like, cower. He's like, I gave it to him.
Yeah.
I was trying to do the right thing. Thorin's like, you are dead to me.
Exactly.
Get out of my sight.
Oof.
I would crash you. I would pick you up and throw you to the ground. Like, I was like, dang. And Gandalf is there, too. He's on the side of men and elves, just, you know, knowing that the situation does not need to be what it is.
Exactly.
And while all this fuss is going on, then the goblins get wind that the dragon is dead and that there's unguarded treasure. So they're on their way, too.
Yeah.
And they're still mad because their great goblin got murdered. So they're on a revenge and greed
quest. Do they have the wargs with them?
Okay. I think so. Okay. I believe that they bring the wargs with them to this war.
Yeah. So this is where we get to where it's like called the Battle of Five Armies.
Yeah.
And the humans, the elves, and the dwarves are forced to put aside their differences in order to fight the goblins and the wargs.
Right. And the dwarves in the mountain did call for aid from other dwarves. So it's not just that small brood. There is a group from, is it Dane or Dale or something like that?
Yeah.
They're a group from somewhere, but there's more dwarves to help. At first, they were just there to help defend the mountain from the men and the elves. But then when they all see the goblins coming, they're like, okay, we got to set aside our petty differences because these goblins outnumber us and we cannot let them take this gold. They will literally ruin the world.
Yeah. So the goblins almost win.
Yep.
And then Bjorn.
Yep. Bjorn and the eagles show up.
Yep.
They're just, I don't know if they were, I think Bjorn was really keeping an eye. Because even after they left him, he kind of kept an eye on them for a bit. And that's when spiders and sleepy times capture. But yeah, I think the eagles too, they kind of heard whisperings and were keeping an eye on the goblins. So thank God for the eagles and Bjorn, because they really turned the tide.
Yeah, they did.
And they
defeat the goblins.
Yeah, and they win.
But,
I mean, not without losses. They even mentioned that there were elves that would have lived long lives, you know, if not for this battle. But
and some of our 13.
Yeah.
Thorin himself.
Yes.
Dead.
Yes. But before he dies,
Yep.
so there's some skirmish. You know, Bilbo even is about to get in on the fighting action, but then he gets knocked out. Mm-hmm. He's got the ring on, so he's invisible. So no one even knows that he's there knocked out. Luckily, he wakes up just in time. They come and find him, and right before, like literally, I'm talking moments before Thorin passes away, you know, and he called for Bilbo too. Like he wanted to see Bilbo, and he was just like, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I take back what I said. You know, you're an honorable little dude, and I was wrong, you know. So they get to mend their things, you know, before he goes to be with his forefathers.
Yep.
And then Philly and Killy also pass. So I think because that family line, because Thorin didn't have any children, and then those were his next of kin. So I think because they're all gone, then the leader of that group that came to assist them, then he becomes king under the mountain.
Yeah.
And that's when he makes all those declarations to do right by everyone. Because when Bilbo was found out that he had given the Arkenstone, he was like, you know, we'll just say this is my 14th, this is my share, you know, give it to them. Like, he is completely selfless in that moment. Yeah. And then when everything is reconciled, you know, that leader was like, you know, I know you and Thorin are good now. Like, I'm going to give, you know, people that were going to get portions of this gold that went on this quest have passed. You know, we're good giving a 14th to the humans that felt like they earned it. And then they even shared like some of the gems from that to the elves and all that. And then he's like, you patch things up with Thorin, like you still deserve a 14th. And Bilbo's like, listen, a 14th is like way more than I can handle. It was hard enough getting here, let alone me trying to travel all that back. Like, no thank you. Just give me a chest of gold and a chest of silver, and I will be a happy boy. Yeah. And so that's what he takes.
Who ends up with the Arkenstone? Does the dwarf get it back?
They put it with Thorin in his grave.
Okay. Yes.
Along with his sword. His sword. I was trying to think of the name of it while also trying to think the word sword.
Yes.
But they lay Orcrist with him. And it had made a comment about like it glowing, you know, if ever danger were near or whatever. But yeah, they lay the Arkenstone and Orcrist with him in his tomb, I guess. Nice. Under the mountain. Yeah. Yep. Aw. Yeah. But yeah, the goblins are gone. The lands are safe-ish again. Yeah. You know, obviously not completely, but for the most part, they took out a big chunk of the problem in those lands.
They did.
Because they had mentioned kind of throughout the book that they had been kind of taking more and more territory for their dastardly deeds. So
dastardly.
But yeah, everybody's got their cut. Everybody's, you know, all good or whatever. And then Bilbo ventures home with Gandalf and hangs out with Bjorn and the elves for a little bit, and you know, and all that fun stuff. And Bilbo ends up with that little pile that they hid from the troll cave. Yep, he gets that too. I think he even offers it to Gandalf, and it's like Gandalf's like, no, you don't need it. Yeah, but why did he need it?
That's right. After all of that, finally, he gets back to Hobbiton. Yeah. And when he arrives at his home, the Sackville Bagginses.
Right. It's like Gandalf knew. He's like, no, you're going to need this when you get home because these greedy turds out here are going to be up in your home.
Yeah. So Bilbo's relatives, the Sackville Bagginses, they covet Bag End. And at this point,
it's a choice piece of land.
It's prime real estate. It's the best hobbit hole around.
He even talks about the view from the one side, which it just sounds like, lovely. Yeah.
And Bilbo's dad had gone to great lengths to build his mom the best hobbit hole.
He even used some of his mom's wealth.
Yeah, because his mom was really wealthy as a toque.
Yeah.
So it's It's the shit.
And these folks they're having an auction.
They're auctioning off all of his stuff.
All of his belongings, and then these fools think they're going to move in.
Yeah.
Heck to the no. I mean, was he gone for like maybe a year? Like,
yeah, he
and
was gone
also,
for a year.
Don't you think Gandalf could have like posted a note that said, he's coming back.
Or put a spell
Probably.
on it?
Or yeah, put a spell on it to protect it.
Yeah. Come on, Gandalf.
So he comes home and he's got to buy back like half of his own belongings that have been auctioned off. He has to argue with people like, no, I'm alive. See me right here.
Look at me.
This
I'm
is me
here.
alive.
Yeah.
They were so greedy for his house that they were in denial. They were like, but are you sure you're alive? Yes.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Poor Bilbo. So I bet at least a good chunk of the stuff he dug back up got used in buying his own things back.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Oh. And, at this point, he's no longer accepted by a respectable Hobbit society.
I think he's okay with it, though.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He knows what it's like to travel out there and, be friends with the elves and the dwarves and...
And doesn't it say that he kind of has visits or goes to see, like, hang out with the elves and stuff every once in a while? Like, that's the company he wants to keep. And I thought that was so cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, he
gets himself some gold buttons, to replace the ones that got busted off,
Yeah. And so now he gets like the best of both worlds. He gets his comfortable little hobbit hole, but also he can go to Rivendell and hang out with Elrond.
Yeah, and he can, remember at least the good bits and the brave bits of his adventure with the dwarves too.
Yeah,
so.
and now after going through all of this, he's super respected by dwarves and by the elves.
Oh yeah,
and even by humans. Yeah. Like
it's sort of like I don't care what the other.
Yeah.
What the other hobbits think.
Yeah. And
I'm good.
Yeah, he's totally good. And all of that comes back up at whenever you get to Lord of the Rings because of his like relationship with Aragorn and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like he's really close to Aragorn because he spent so much time in Rivendell while Aragorn was being raised in Rivendell.
Oh, that's cool because you don't get that in the movies. Like I didn't even... Until you literally just said that, and I'm sure you saw the light bulb shine above my head.
Yeah.
That Bilbo and Aragorn, because I don't even think we see them speak to each other in the movies.
I don't think so, but in the books they have a very, very close friendship, and Bilbo actually like writes a song about Aragorn.
That's awesome. I love that.
The Not All Who Wander Are Lost is about Aragorn.
That's cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Speaking of characters that don't speak. This is more about Lord of the Rings, but I saw this short little video the other day where it was like all the lines that Legolas speaks to Frodo. And it's literally, you have my bow. And then that was it. I was like, he literally does. Does he really literally never speak to him again? And maybe he speaks to the group, but I guess you really don't see any like one-on-one with Frodo. Like a lot. That made me laugh so hard. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. Especially because considering like they part ways at the end of Fellowship and they don't see them again until after the ring is destroyed.
Yeah.
Like Frodo and Sam are just out here.
Yeah.
So the rest of the Fellowship is just fighting for their lives in the streets.
Right. In these mean streets.
The mean streets of Middle-earth.
Oh my God, that's such a good t-shirt idea.
I was just going to say that.
Trademarked, don't steal our idea. Please. Oh my gosh.
I think we could probably skip themes, honestly.
Okay.
We've kind of gone through a little bit of that anyway.
Yeah.
And we can jump right into the film.
Cool. And we could always do it as like a little bonus discussion or something because I think that you made some really cool points. So
yeah, we can
leave you on a cliffhanger, people.
Yeah. We could actually, if we wanted to, do a separate like little thing about the film.
Yeah.
If we want to save that discussion.
Oh, about the film?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We can do that too.
That could be cool.
Yeah.
We've kind of talked about doing that, like having like a separate episode where we talk about film versus book.
Yeah, for sure.
Adaptation.
But I even meant your points on the themes I thought were really good. But I understand why you want to skip them because we've been talking for
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours.
Yeah, that was my actually my thought. I was like,
yeah,
this is going to be long.
Right. But I do think that you have some really good points. So that could be just like a short little bonus something that we put out later or something.
Yeah. And we can even do like, each of us could like maybe even record ourselves and then we can put it on Instagram.
Yeah.
And TikTok.
Yeah.
Like after we release the full episode or whatever.
Yeah, we'll discuss the films elsewhere as well because I'm sure you kind of already have an idea of how we feel about the small comments we've made throughout this. So.
Displeased to say the least.
Yeah.
And you'll have to just come back and listen to us talk about it.
Yeah.
When we do those.
Yep.
So our next novel is going to be The Love Match by Priyanka Taslim. Super excited about that one. It was really fun.
It's a young adult story.
Yeah, so it full disclosure, it's YA.
Yeah.
It's not like a smut book or your typical adult romance.
It's a sweet love, not a saucy love story.
It's precious. It is not it's not a spicy one.
Right.
So I guess we can do our final thoughts on The Hobbit.
Yeah. Do you want to go first or you want me to go first?
I gave The Hobbit 4 out of 5 stars. I would probably go 4.5.
Yeah.
If Goodreads let you, but it doesn't. I loved the book. I loved it as a child and it holds up for sure. It's lighthearted and fun, and if you've only ever seen the Hobbit movie, you should definitely read the book because it's fun. Mm-hmm. It's a fun book. All the adventures and the misadventures. It's a really wholesome book.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So I've loved it forever.
Did you watch the cartoon version that came out as a child?
I haven't.
I haven't either. So maybe we should add that to the film discussion. We should also watch the animated
I don't know. I think that might have come out in like the 70s or 80s maybe. I think it's old.
It is.
But I've not watched it, but I'm interested. I think like we talked about at the beginning, more and more I'm thinking that fantasy adaptations should be animated. Mm-hmm. I just feel like you're going to satisfy... I know that there are some people out there that don't love animated stuff. Mm-hmm. And I would say that I don't love adult cartoons. Actually, I really dislike adult cartoons. But that's not the same. Yeah. Me hating things like Family Guy.
I was going to say, adult cartoons different. The subject matter is more raunch and pushing the envelope rather than telling a story.
Yeah.
Sorry if that is you feel that is an incorrect assessment, but that's just how I feel.
I think a lot of adult cartoons, part of the goal is the shock factor. Mm-hmm. And especially with like Family Guy and with South Park. I've never liked it because it's a combative thing in my brain. Mm-hmm. When I think cartoon, I think of like Disney and precious, fun, nostalgia. That's what I think of when I think of animation. Yeah. And then whenever you bring in a cartoon and they're like making sex jokes, it just doesn't compute in my brain. Yeah. So I just really dislike it a lot. Yeah. But for like a fantasy series, I think animation lends a little bit better because you can depict magic easier. Yeah. So like a Harry Potter situation, the magic is much easier to illustrate than it is to make in a live action. Yeah. Though I imagine all the detail has got to be so daunting for such a thing. But they can do it so beautifully. They really can. Yeah. I mean, I love a live action version, but if you can do a lot of things practically and like make it look super good. Yeah. That's amazing. But great. If you're going to phone it in and do like crap and too much CGI. Yeah, then you might as well go the animation route where you can do what you need to do and have it look really great. Yeah, and you can capture a lot more of the whimsy with animation. Mm-hmm. So I think The Hobbit is probably a really fun cartoon. And I don't think they should ever remake Lord of the Rings, ever. I feel like it's like the original Star Wars. People are going to watch it forever, and you never need to redo it.
Yes, I agree.
So, if it was ever proposed for them to, like, redo the original trilogy as, like, a TV series, I feel like there would be riots in these streets.
Right. Even more than Harry Potter, because, like, in Harry Potter, they did have to leave things out. And a TV series would allow those books to really breathe, and you could really see those things you missed, especially in, like, Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
But Lord of the Rings, from everything you've told me, it's like they got the main good, great stuff. Yeah. And there's no need to. You can't mess with perfection.
Yeah. They really captured the essence of what is happening in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit of that's lost in the Harry Potter movies, you know, but I like the movies as they are. Yeah. Do I think they need to remake them into a television series for HBO? No, I don't.
They don't need to, no.
They don't need to. It's not like it was botched. Right. I don't think that. But I do think that it will be successful and make them a lot of money, and that's why they want to do it.
Yeah. I think it'll be, I think if they do it right, it'll be really good.
I think they will do it right, to be honest, and I will watch it, and I'll probably really like it.
Yeah.
And I'm not married to the original cast. Did I love Maggie Smith as Professor McGonagall? Of course I did. They really did top-notch casting in Harry Potter. Like, hands down, the casting is really great. But I think a lot of the things that we complain about can be rectified in a show.
Yes.
So I know that there are people causing a huge ruckus online. Like, why are you doing this? These movies are not that old. Do something else. I do agree to an extent.
Yes.
But I'm also kind of like in the middle. I'm pretty neutral, actually.
Yeah. I'm intrigued to see what they do with it.
I agree.
I'm excited if it's good, and I'll be sad if it's bad.
Yeah. At least if it's bad, we still have the films.
Exactly. Like it's not like they're replacing them and the films will never be able to be watched again. It's just adding to.
Exactly. Exactly. And I know that Dan has said he's done playing the character of Harry Potter. I have seen clips where he, like, jokes, like, in the way future, if they were to remake the movies, if they could come back and, like, Emma could be McGonagall and he could be, like, whoever, right? Like, maybe Sirius.
Yeah. That
would be really amazing.
Yes.
It's too soon for that now, though.
Yes.
For them.
Agreed.
So.
Agreed.
I think we talked about this in a previous episode, maybe the Harry Potter one, that it would be cool if Dan played Snape.
Yeah. Or Sirius.
I
think that would be cool, too.
Yeah.
But yes.
Either way, because Snape and Sirius both have long hair.
Yeah.
I think that would be really, like, cheeky nod to the films, which I think that they should do. Yeah. If they're gonna remake them, they should nod them a little.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. I think that would be great.
I don't know. It's exciting. I mean, I'll consume it. I don't know. I would be mad if they were remaking Lord of the Rings.
Right.
That would make me mad.
Me too.
But you know, as we're available to consult.
Yes.
And so Whitney, you can do your feedback.
Oh yeah.
I forgot that's what we were doing.
I mean, I sidetracked this car, so it's all my fault. Yeah, I would give it 4.5 as well. I'm even tempted to give it a 5, but there were some things that just felt repetitive. Like, even though everything that is going on, like, has a purpose and makes sense, and that's why it belongs, but, like, the chasing the firelight and falling asleep part, like, felt a little draggy. Yeah. And then even, like, the telling the story to Bjorn as, like, they would slowly arrive, and he's like, yeah, get on with it. I'm like, yeah, I agree with you, Bjorn. Like, yeah, let's get on with it. Yeah. Bjorn. I feel like I've said it 5 different ways. But other than that, yes, like, I would say, like, if they would let me do 4.5, I would. So I guess I would give it a 5 because I feel like 4 would be too low for my enjoyment personally, because I loved this book. I think I already said, but this is my first time reading it, and I can't believe it took me so darn long. Again, I think I just let people intimidate me. They're like, oh, Tolkien just uses too many descriptor words, and it's just like you spend 5 pages on like a wet hole, and it's
Which
like
is
you don't.
Not true.
It's not true. So
he spends like 3 sentences on the hole.
Right. So I don't know why I listen to other people. I've been working on that for a long time now, and I just don't listen to other people anymore. But I just think it's delightful and fun, and I really liked it. I will say in the audiobook, for some reason, like the songs, I was like, yeah, okay, get on with it, get on with it, get on with it.
They're much pleasanter to read.
Agreed. It's more like reading poetry rather than listen to a song. You're like, okay.
I was the same way.
Yeah.
Listening, even though I thought Andy Serkis did a really excellent job.
Amazing.
He did a great job. But it does. You're like, okay, because even when you're reading it, you could just skip it.
Yeah.
You can read it quickly, skim, or you can just skip to the rest of the story because you don't need to read the songs necessarily.
Right. They do give some.
They give some context,
but I agree that they're not necessary.
Yeah, they're not necessary to like further the plot, but they're just, they're nice. They're nice, and it breaks up the regular prose.
Right.
But I think Tolkien's prose is amazing.
Oh, it's a beautifully written story. And I just had an easy time relating to Bilbo and everything that he was going through, and I just enjoyed the entire experience. But I mentioned it like 10 times while discussing it. I just think it's beautifully written. You can feel the things that he describes. You can see it in your mind. It's just, it's amazing and great. So
it is lovely.
I was thrilled with it.
I was also thrilled with it. I think I think 4.5 is where I would live.
Yes, me too.
I put 4 stars because I feel like the trilogy is 5 stars.
Yeah. See, and I think if I had,
and I prefer the trilogy, and so I put this at 4.
Yeah, and I think if I had something to compare to, and I think probably 4 is more appropriate, but I was like, it feels so low. I just loved it so much.
Yeah, I know.
But 4.5 would be Goodreads. We are also here for help and support. Let us do half stars.
I agree.
Please.
I think half stars are really important because there is a difference.
There's so much complexity to rating a book, and 5 is already very small.
Yeah.
Where you can kind of be like, hated it, kind of liked it, really liked it, loved it. Okay, got it. But could you just let me do some half stars to get some like variety in there? Because then I feel like everything I like is a 4 and everything I hate is a 2.
Yeah.
And there's no in between.
I know. And I recently rated a book 3 stars, and I really wanted it to be 3.5 because when I read it, I enjoyed reading it. Mm-hmm. I would probably reread it, but it's not as good as other books that I've read that I've rated a 4.
Right.
So you have that like push and pull in your brain, like I don't want to rate this. 3 seems low.
Yeah.
But I also don't feel like it's a 4 or 5.
Right.
So it has to be a 3.
Right.
So yeah, it's like it's a real struggle.
It is. It is.
And then there are some that I'm just like, I just don't care. This is 5.
Right.
And I'll hear nothing else about it.
Exactly.
I think I rated every single Harry Potter 5 stars.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Me too.
Because even in like the Harry Potter book verse, I have like a hierarchy of my favorite one, my least favorite one, but they're all 5s in my heart.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Agreed. 100% agreed.
So.
But speaking of rating and reviewing things, please rate and review our podcast.
5 stars would be really preferable.
Absolutely.
To be honest.
100%.
If you really feel like we're a 3, that's fine. But
we'll respect it as long as you're respectful in your reasoning.
Yeah. But, I feel like we're 5s.
Yeah.
I feel like we're giving you 5 level content, to be honest.
We're going above and beyond even the topic that we were discussing. We're giving you beautiful chestnuts of all kinds of things.
And I feel like the audience we will attract is going to be fandom audience.
Yeah.
And fandom people, they will love all of that.
Yeah. Hopefully people aren't going to yell at us and hate us and be like, you literally say spoilers for 10 other things when you're discussing one. It's like, this is where spoilers live.
I'm sorry. We've said it.
I'm really sorry that, you don't even know that you're here to talk about also Lord of the Rings spoilers galore or the 10 other topics. So I'm sorry that we do just discuss things as if you have also experienced them. But the things that we're talking about have been out for a while. Yeah. So in our defense, you've had a chance, but I am sorry if we've let out a blurb that spoiled something for you. But I promise hopefully it won't have ruined your enjoyment of that said thing. But we're talking freely over here. We're
talking freely. And also, we're about to go and celebrate the 20th anniversary of Return of the King, the very last Lord of the Rings. So if you felt spoilered as we were talking about it, I feel like that's kind of a you problem.
Yeah, it's been
20?
Yeah.
20.
And that's for the movie, not even for the books.
Yeah, the books were released in like the 40s. Yeah. Come on. People who Tolkien is dead. He's been dead longer than I've been alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just saying.
Yeah. Just forget the things that may have been spoilers and just go enjoy some stuff then. If you haven't experienced it, go do it.
This is your chance. The things we will most likely spoil for you are Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings, which we've already done fully in both. Can't really spoil Game of Thrones. It's already spoiled itself. Yeah. And the last 2 books are not out. So. And
even Sarah J. Maas stuff, I feel like we haven't really given spoilers. And even if we do,
all the spoilers are online for those. Hella.
We're not trying to be jerks, though. That's all I'm saying. Is we're just enjoying this beautiful conversation we're having with each other that you're listening to, and I'm just sorry that if it spoils something for you, but we're having a whole lot of fun over here.
So just beware. This is how we operate. Yeah, we're gonna talk about stuff, and it's gonna happen. Mm-hmm. So if you really, really have a fantasy fandom that you don't want spoiled,
email us and let us know.
Yeah, if you are an avid listener and don't want us to spoil something, send us an email and let us know.
And we'll put it on a little list.
Do our very best, but no guarantees.
Yes.
Sometimes you just, start saying it. Yeah. It just happens.
My brain doesn't automatically go, spoiler alert.
Yeah, I know.
Just say it.
Spoilers don't really bother me, generally. It depends on what it is.
Yeah. I had the ending for Sixth Sense spoiled for me.
Oh, really?
Now that really can take the wind out of your sails. But I will say that even watching it, I was like, but wait, they spoke. But wait, they didn't. Mm-hmm. I won't say it because I'm just not going to, I just won't. But yeah. So I understand a spoiler, but for the most part, it's like it didn't, even as huge as that spoiler is, it still didn't ruin my enjoyment of the film.
Yeah. So I don't think I've had anything major ever spoiled for me.
I had deaths in Harry Potter spoiled for me, but it's still, again, I knew they were coming, but it still didn't spoil that moment in the book for me. So
I luckily didn't have any. If Harry Potter were released now, it would be torture. Mm-hmm. It would be, you would have to fully avoid the internet. You couldn't get on any social media. You couldn't open Google. No. You couldn't watch the news. You would have to sequester yourself entirely. Yes. Until you got your hands on the book and read it yourself. Uh-huh. Otherwise you would absolutely know.
It's hard enough with movies, but I feel like that would just be unavoidable.
Even without seeking it out, even if you were not looking at Harry Potter things, it would just be in front of your face. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just glad that all of them came out in a time that was not really. You would have had to search for the ending to have it spoiled. Yes. Unless you knew someone who was a real dick.
That literally, at one of the releases, the guy flipped to the back and was like, ah! I was like, you are truly scum.
I mean, Yeah. That guy deserved a kick. Yeah.
He said it in the middle of a bookstore, too. He's lucky he didn't get mobbed.
He really is lucky that the people around him were probably just...
Yeah, that they didn't all collaborate together and just beat the snot out of him.
I know.
Speaking of collaboration, our tunes and artwork were collaboration.
Aw.
of the We Read Books crew.
That's us.
Yep.
We did it all.
With contributions from Dakota.
Yeah. He consulted on the artwork.
Yes. Listen to episode 1 for context.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to end it here because we've talked for a while.
I want to say sorry, but hopefully if you made it here, like, you guys are...
You're the real ones.
The true crew, and we appreciate you just hanging out with us.
Thank you. So until we meet again, hoot twice like a barn owl, and once like a screech owl, and then also read books.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye. I wish I knew Elvish for goodbye.